How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGTProductions.com and YouTube.com. The favorite show hosts are still.
Venurian, who apparently forgets that USB ports are important.
And Volatile. And we're to bring the latest news and commentary for the video games industry for the week for the second attempt at starting the show for as long as my internet holds out. I don't know how long it's going to hold out. It's been playing up to date and I don't know why and I don't know how to fix it and everything's terrible forever. But yeah. So we're gonna do the show anyway. If you'd like to get involved with the show, you can send us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, which you can easily get to by clicking on the link that will be provided in the show description underneath the archive on YouTube once it goes up.
Yes,
Yes.
indeedly. So yeah, if Vol suddenly robots and disappears, then yeah, his internet's exploded again.
Yeah.
So yeah. On the stream today, I'm playing a bit of Medieval Dynasty, which came out this week out of early access, and I do enjoy this game. I find it very, very relaxing for the moment, if you don't play it on the default settings. So essentially, the game is about you are a peasant.
How dare you?
You are a peasant in an idyllic valley, and you need to build yourself a house, which you can then grow into a farm, which you can grow into a village. It's all done in first person, and then that also inevitably involves getting eaten by wolves at some point.
Wolf's got to eat me.
Yeah. However, the game is broken up into the 4 seasons, and in each season you only get, by default, 3 days, which is usually just enough time before you start getting, sub-peasants, to get your crops to market. I mean, if you want to do some of the quests around the place, you might be able to do some of them, but you're not going to be able to do everything, and it's an irritation that I could do without. But beyond that bit of silliness, yeah, it's a very relaxed game. It's just, chop down some trees, build a little house, grow some crops, pay very, very off-handed compliments to a woman and hope she marries you. Apparently, meaningless small talk is how you get to convince someone to marry you in this game. Don't ask.
I'm pretty sure that's also how it works in real life.
That's certainly the start of the process.
Yeah, that's step 1. It seems to go from, step 1 of friendly conversation to, okay, now we're married. Without anything in between.
So, romance is in BioWare games then?
Yeah, pretty much.
They become awful attached awful quickly.
Incredibly so, yes. And yeah, it's about as tasteful. Actually, no, these are probably still a bit more tasteful. Alright, so with this game coming out in early access, they've put in everything they said they were going to and pushed it out the door. So we'll see how things go. Last time I played it, I think they'd only just introduced horses, which make getting around and basically doing everything a lot easier. So naturally, they're right at the end of the progression path, of course. But yeah, that's that, and I'll just play that on the stream a bit today and see what happens.
You need to earn your mount through suffering, like back in the old days.
Yes. You have to grind for it. Not get eaten by wolves. Or if I was being real adventurous, I could go over here somewhere and get eaten by bears. But yeah. Anywho, as for my week, life is continuing to be life.
Well, I mean, that's not the worst thing it could be.
Yeah. We're starting to get things a bit guys. We're getting more employees and a new employee in to figure things out, but until he's completely on board, we'll basically make things up as we go along.
Yeah, you haven't been very You haven't talked very much this week. I've got an ulcer under my tongue, and it's making fumbling words even more unpleasant than normal.
I bumped into you in one of the Stormblood zones while you were doing something there, and sent a picture to you about your oven mitts.
Yeah, I don't have the oven mitts anymore. So yeah, I did finish the end of Stormblood Vanilla, which is a very satisfying story end. The teaser right at the end was good because it reintroduced a character who everybody likes and one who everybody hates. So that was nice. Then I got onto some of the sillier content. I went and found Hildebrand.
Which is, of course, the most important thing one can do in an expansion.
It is. As soon as you can unlock that ability to go and talk to him, you do it. Even though he was, I believe, introduced later on into the life of the expansion, so his encounter is actually a higher item level requirement than everything else. So, yeah. For some reason in this one, first and foremost, Warrior of Light has just stopped caring. You're given all of the options to either snark or just be brutally honest. And it's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've been dealing with Hildebrand for quite a while in universe time.
Through
at this point,
potentially 3 encounters if you're around for 1.0.
Oh yeah, when he tried to launch himself to Dalamud, didn't he, or something?
He did. I think he hit it face first and then fell off.
Yeah, I hope that they find. I hope they find a way to somehow incorporate that legacy content again in some way, like even if it's just a flashback, so that we can actually see how that all played out.
Really want a Hildebrand flashback?
Well, I mean, it might be some relation to stuff that happened.
Broadly? Maybe?
I mean, I'm not making any promises.
Yeah. Skip through this. I should probably actually be reading this, but I do know that they just actually changed the storyline for this game, as it turns out. But anyway. So yeah, you end up running around trying to catch the wolf burglar, who is a Lupin who's trying to steal stuff. And Nashu picks up a stalker. So there's the mini game of keeping an eye out for the stalker in the background whenever Nashu's on screen. And he is always there. You just have to find him. Sometimes he's obvious, other times not so much. Even in the silly little dance they do at the end of each chapter, he's...
So this is like in the episode most anime have, where the child character goes off on an adventure on their own, but if you go back through the episode, you can see the guardian character hiding in the background of each scene.
Yes, except this time it's a bit creepier.
Yeah.
I mean, no real accounting for taste, I guess. Like, Nashu's a very plain-looking girl, and
she's got a unique charm all of her own.
Let's not talk about what's going on in that head of hers, though.
There's stuff going on in that head of hers?
Circus music and explosions, I think. So, yeah. Even when you can confront her directly about her having this stalker, and she just brushes it off. That's a fun little thing. But yeah, good fun.
She's been through a lot.
She has. Not to mention quite a lot of brain trauma. So yeah, I'm a bit miffed because I got through the storyline and thoroughly enjoyed it, and then you get up to the fight with Jim, Yojimbo. Which I can't do right now because I need to raise up my eye level, which means I need to do more Netflix roulette.
Was he dubbed Jim by Hildebrand? So this is a Greg situation?
Well, yes. I mean, I already know how the story goes from this point, what the next story beat is. There's enough hints that are dropped that you can figure it out, even if you don't know what's going to happen. I can spoil it if you want.
No, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to go through it myself before too long.
All right. So yeah, you can figure out what's going to happen, but it is definitely another Greg situation. Yeah, I think the biggest clue is Yojimbo's reaction to seeing meeting the Warrior of Light. So yeah. Also,
Yeah,
I've
I might
noticed that
actually do the New Game Plus on the Hildebrand stuff because I don't remember a lot of what happened in the earlier ones, but I do remember enjoying it very much.
yeah. Incidentally, my Warrior of Light only really during the Hildebrand quest seems to have a bad case of resting bitch face. It
But
might
you're
just be
a
the
cat
lion
fan.
face, but
You really don't seem to have much luck getting your character to look the way you want.
well, he looks fine the rest of the time. It only seems to be during the Hildebrand quest. So I'm wondering if that's something that's programmed in, where the Warrior of Light just looks perpetually annoyed.
I, I don't know. I guess that for most models they have stock expressions. I don't know what expression that is.
Yeah, it's usually
But,
something fairly neutral.
And, my character always looks either confused or just like, yeah, seen that before.
Yeah.
My character mainly looks like she's spacing out and not really listening to what other people are saying.
I mean, I'm not going to roll up an aura again, not after last time. I've forgotten how to craft in this game.
Well, they've completely ransacked it. There's no resemblance to what it was like when I was last playing.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. The other bit of content I did in Final Fantasy was the Rathalos Quest.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do it, but I haven't got around to it yet.
So the lead up to it's nothing very special. You basically get told there's a flying red dragon around the place.
Well, it was interesting.
Go hunt it.
It was interesting for me because I was doing the Dragoon class quest at the same time, and you are in the same place also hunting a dragon, except the one you're looking for is black. And when you talk to some of the NPCs while doing the Monster Hunter quest, they think that you are on the Dragoon quest, and they'll say, "Oh, you are looking for a black dragon, right?" No, we're looking for the red one.
So yeah, you meet your Rathalos, you go out. It's pretty much where you'd expect him to be. You find a feline, you get your feline pet. The best interesting part is the way the Rathalos fight works. Where, with the introduction of Final Fantasy mechanics into Monster Hunter, they've done the reverse here. So
Except in the case of Monster Hunter, it resulted in an ungodly difficult fight.
Yeah. This is low rank Rathalos at this point. I haven't tried high rank Rathalos, by the way. But, hard and savage. But, yeah. He attacks by using his actual visual telegraphs without painting blobs on the floor where he's going to be doing his attacks. For the most part. His fireball attack is undodgeable, so he'll put a marker on the player who does it, or he's going to hit with it, so you can just get away from everyone else. And he also has a group up mechanic. But yeah, it's not a hard fight, especially if you're ranged. You just stand back and you'll not get hit by pretty much anything. And yeah, you can get yourself some Rathalos armor via way of Final Fantasy 14. Which looks pretty good.
I was actually quite impressed by the translation of Rathalos into the Final Fantasy engine. Like, he looks almost exactly the way he does in World.
Yes, he does. Incidentally, Behemoth doesn't look out of place in Monster Hunter either.
I feel traumatized when I see Behemoth in Monster Hunter though, which I don't feel in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I like to play a game with Behemoth called Gamble with Myself, over under on how many people are going to die to the meteor effect.
Oh, all of them.
Well, in Monster Hunter that would in fact be the case, yes.
Yes.
The mechanics may be the same, but it's an awful lot harder to execute.
I gotta remember how to actually craft something in this game. That's not a good thing. Let's see.
Oh, good, we're at nap time.
Yeah, you two are doing Praetorium right now?
Yeah, Nero's making a speech at the moment.
Oh. Yeah.
We've done all the trash now, so it's just the boss gauntlet and the movie. So me and
But-
Paul are watching a movie during Fern's week.
Nero really comes into his own and Stormblood particularly though I find. Like, when particularly with the introductory quest where you're trying to turn Omega loose.
I've seen that cutscene. It's like Sid's hanging around and it's like, I brought you some help. Oh no.
I like him in the Crystal Tower quest line.
Which I still need to
Yeah,
do. Though.
I think he's a particularly strong character who is sadly underutilized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fern, you're going to be completely lost in Shadowbringers if you don't do the Crystal Tower storyline.
Yeah, it's on the list of stuff I've got to do.
Like, it may not be technically required to, since you are past the point where it locks, but you need to do it or you're not going to understand anything that's going on. And I can do those raids in my sleep now because I've done them so many times.
Yeah.
Also the writing does imply that your character has done them, which is probably the actual reason that they request that you do them first, is because they've just written a version where, oh yes, you have already done this.
Isn't it a big info dump on the Alligans?
It's
Or
not
Barry Alligan?
really an info dump.
You do get a lot of Allegan history in it, but that's not the real draw to the Crystal Tower.
Right. That's not
Although
Yeah.
it does set up some interesting parallels with the denouement of Stormblood. As Stormblood comes to an end, it's quite clear that what's going on between Eorzea and Garlemald is sort of following the same pattern that happened to the Allegan Empire.
Incidentally, I have also spent a little bit of time, a bit of catch up on the lore, so watching a few videos here. And
Yeah,
you
I
can
found
do
the-
that for Final Fantasy, unlike WoW, because the lore is consistent.
Yeah, there's a really good series by a guy who normally does SCP Foundation videos of all things, that he decided to take a break from that and just do a Chronicle of a Realm Reborn story.
More like SJW Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched his recap of A Realm Reborn that's very thorough for all the main quest story beats.
So,
Because when I came back, I had been so long since I'd done the quest line, I was just like, I don't remember anything. Not that there's much to remember, most of it's just Primal's bad, okay?
for the most
Speaking
part,
of, I saw that Preach has gone all in on starting Final Fantasy XIV, and he's just progressing the early main story quest, and he keeps talking about how much he likes the story, and I'm like, man, you poor deprived Brit.
yeah.
Spent all this time in World of Warcraft.
It seems to be the big thing lately. Like, we've saw it start with Asmongold and a couple of others, but it's like you have all these WoW streamers who come in and they suddenly remember what fun is and what interesting writing is.
Or what writing is, period. Because, well, I didn't like much of Stormblood's story. It's still a gazillion miles ahead of whatever World of Warcraft has.
Yes.
Oh, we're doing this, are we?
Oh, I don't know why they're so hell bent on doing this. Oh yeah, just stand in the fire. It's fashionable.
Oh, yeah.
I think the idea is the knockback he does doesn't knock the melee as far away, but it's just a pain in the butt.
I accidentally pressed the holy button, and unfortunately, everybody who's got the effects turner is going to be able to tell.
Yeah. So you get all these people who come back over from WoW, and it's like, oh jeez, how do you even describe it? They've been woken up from a bad dream, I guess, which is not far from the truth. Yeah, we'll come back to WoW later, but it's in its death throes, I think.
Yeah.
It's just the lid has been hammered onto the coffin by this debacle that they've been having at Blizzard.
Mm-hmm. They kind of had this perfect storm of things going horribly wrong, on top of people suddenly discovering that Final Fantasy is actually good, and scratches all those itches that WoW doesn't anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is not anything special. This is not a unique phenomenon. This is just what happens when you release a crappy expansion, and they released a crappy expansion.
Yes, they did.
And they released it in such a way as to offend the maximum number of people possible. It wasn't a matter of them, oh well, we made some mistakes. It was a matter of them listening to all the feedback, interacting with the player base as though they had comprehended the feedback, and then proceeding to flip them off.
Yeah.
Like because they went ahead and they made every single mistake that they could have made. They didn't do a single thing right.
And this was coming off the back of Battle for Azeroth too, where everybody was already burnt out and angry.
Because it was a bad expansion.
Yeah, it needed to be the alternating good expansion in order to save World of Warcraft, but instead they did a double bad, and people have come into Final Fantasy and are basically remembering that, oh, well, actually, this was the way WoW was back in the day. This is what things used to be like.
Yeah.
This is the content I enjoy. It's here, but it's not there.
And I mean, if you look at somebody like Preach is very gameplay centric. He doesn't normally care too terribly much about the story, and he absolutely detests the gameplay of early Final Fantasy XIV, which you can't really blame him for because he's playing a black mage, and there's not really a lot of gameplay there in the early levels.
Oh yeah, that class doesn't start really kicking off until what, about 30?
Yeah, but he was 50. You start to see how it's going to come together, and it just picks up more and more mechanics as it goes along. But he was hedging his bet that he would find it easier to cope with the long global cooldown if he was playing a hard casting class. And I mean, there are pros and cons to that argument because unless you're playing a monk, you're going to not have a lot to do with your global cooldown time,
especially early on before you get weevables.
Like if you've ever played a gladiator, or if you've played a marauder, you know how dull it can be. But
1, 2, 3, stare at the spirits within button and hope it pops up.
I started with Summoner, remember?
If you're lucky, you've got 3. Well, you can at least with your summoner, you have to invest your time in keeping Carbuncle out of trouble.
Yeah, that's an impossibility, and you quickly give up on that.
But yeah, at any rate, he normally cares about gameplay an awful lot and about story not so much. But he's in the case of Final Fantasy, he's so engaged by the story that he just doesn't care that the gameplay is bad.
He's not even up to the good bit yet.
When he's the early stages of A Realm Reborn is where he's up to. Last time I checked in to see what he was up to, but he's engaged with the content that's been presented and actually paying attention to who the characters are and what they're doing, which is unusual based on his performance in World of Warcraft, where he rapidly got to the point where he didn't give a toss. That's hard to blame him for that. Absolutely. But yeah, he seems to be having a good time, much like a lot of other people. And although he seems to also have had very little conception of anything that Final Fantasy XIV was built on. Like, he thought there were going to be talent trees, and he's like, "Where are the talent trees?"
Yeah, there are no talent trees. Let's face it, though, with WoW, talent trees have been a boondoggle since Cataclysm.
Well, they
possibly even earlier. Like if you have anywhere on your diagram game balance as even a hope, much less an objective, talent trees are going to make that job not only exponentially harder, but like exponentially harder. Yeah. Because you simply aren't going to be able to test your way to victory through that. You're guaranteeing, because gamers have gamer brain, right? Yes. So you're guaranteeing that everybody's going to fall into a cookie cutter anyway.
Yeah, it's like you're playing this class and this spec, therefore this is your talent layer.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of choice about it. No. But yeah,
that was before you tried to min-max it.
So I'm seeing these WoW players get engaged with Final Fantasy XIV's slowest, most plodding part of the story, and I'm like, I really hope you guys can stick it out to see what it becomes later on, because if you think this is impressive, you haven't seen anything yet.
Like, normally there's an argument about MMOs where you've got to play the game for 100 hours before it gets good. Which is a bad thing, by the way. If you have to play for that long for it to get good, it's a bad game.
That's a Korean import idea, I think, in a lot of ways.
Largely.
Where everything just sucking down huge amounts of time was perfectly all right. Although I would argue that the original version of Terra was good from the word go.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It isn't anymore.
Although the new starter island is much better than the old starter island, I'll say that too.
But
But
yeah, in the case of Final Fantasy 14, it does get good after 100 hours, but that first 100 hours is also good.
Well,
Yeah.
it's playable.
The one thing that I picked up from what he was saying that I don't think has actually gotten good is that they don't have as much of the dungeon experience that you got in like old school Sunken Temple of Khan anymore, where
Yeah.
there's so much puzzle element to the way the dungeon plays out, where you've got to kill mobs on particular pedestals, and you've got to pick up things throughout the dungeon and put them in other places, which will unlock extra chests and stuff. Like, I know that the efficiency-minded players hate that kind of thing, but it is a different experience to what you typically get in a Final Fantasy 14 dungeon now, which is basically trash mobs boss, trash mobs boss, trash mobs boss, and then we're out.
Yeah, maybe a slight gimmick in one of those boss fights.
Well, they've really focused more on giving the bosses more unique abilities, or if not unique, at least engaging abilities.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. And the bosses are unique and they are engaging, and I enjoy boss fights generally in Final Fantasy XIV. But if what you're looking at is sort of like the abstract of the dungeon diving experience, these earlier ones often are better. Like the Hellcay Manor feels more like a place than the Eyrie does.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Heavensward onward, all the dungeons are hallways. You will get mapping the realm just by walking through the dungeon.
Yeah, well, the mapping the realm is essentially find boss room 1, find boss room, find boss room 3.
But like in the manor and even in Sistasha, there are optional rooms you can just never go in.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Don't.
you've ever been with a completely new group to Thousand Wars of Totorak, but it can be a trial.
I was this week. Holy crap!
That sounds like
That
pain.
I had to direct the whole group. He went the wrong way early, and we got an extra photo cell, so I got to cut out the we need to run through the boss room part and take a hallway to the left.
Oh, jeez, what else? That's.
He was stopping to read the notes in Totorak our tank was.
Oh dear.
I'm not even sure what those notes say, to be honest.
He's gonna love Great Google Library then. The notes return.
But anyway, that was a hijacking of Fern's week because he was talking about the story.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really all as far as I've gotten this week.
So, what do you think of the Stormblood story, and how does it compare to mine and Ball's interpretation of it, or not interpretation, but reaction to it?
It is a good story on its own. I think I prefer the Heavenswood story over it though.
Yeah, that's well, I hear that from a lot of people, but I'm not sure the extent to which people are able to separate it from the fact that the high point of the Heavenswood story is the post game, and that backs straight onto the Stormblood one, which was written to be done from a standing start, not from high momentum.
Yeah, I think that might be it. Because Heavenswood, once it gets rolling, it never stops.
Yeah, but the thing is that for most people who are long-time players, their experience of the story was that they did the closing of Heavenswood's main plot lines a long time ago, and then Stormblood is this brief prologue plus the Stormblood main story. It's not backing directly onto the drama of the Dragonsong War or the Warriors of Darkness or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's.
I think that's part of it, but I do think a bit of it is just the stuff with the dragons was way cooler than the stuff with Alamigo and Doma.
It was.
Yeah, like I said again, that's related to your previous experience with the game.
And there are a few moments where it's just like everyone has stopped doing important things to stand around and argue for it.
Ball hit a spike, by the way, so he roboted and has hit a spike, so we'll have to fill time while his internet spikes. But yeah, what'd you think of the Shinryu fight? Was it easy for you?
Shinryu, I went in with a group, just a random group. We wiped the first time, and then got him on the second. Oh, jeez. I did it
Did you
early
die
in the
to
week, and
tidal
I've
wave?
forgotten actually what went wrong.
Did you die to tidal wave?
No, I didn't. But the second run. No, sorry, it wasn't Shinryu. We did it on the second attempt. We did Shinryu on the first attempt. However, tidal wave took out all except for me, one tank, and one healer. So, yeah, the rest of the fight was basically the healer running around, heal the tank, res someone, heal the tank, res someone. Thankfully, he did have the sense to get the red mage up first, but it shouldn't have come to that.
Yeah, me and Vol just were tanking Ultima, no big deal as healers just now.
Yeah. The fight itself is fairly straightforward once you're actually in there. It seems like a lot, but what you got to remember is his big attacks is first, once that meter is full, he'll do tidal wave, get to the back of the platform, or get to the closer side to the wave. Second, he'll use a fireball, stand in the pools. Beyond that, it's you're on the grid platform, so it's stay in the middle unless you have to get out of something, and then you're pretty much fine.
The thing is that I don't think the order is guaranteed, and in addition, every single one of those mechanics is lethal. And
Yes.
in the way the fight was when I did it for the first time, you've got to keep this guy up for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a really, really long fight. It felt like 15 minutes. My goodness. The thing had so much health relative to the gear level when I went in.
It still took a while to bring him down, but because this is one expansion behind now, it's
Well,
not that
keep in mind, not only was it a lot less gear on the people playing it, but you didn't have everybody knowing to switch target to the tail, because the way you do most of the damage to him is by blowing up his tail.
Yeah, you got to kill his tail.
But if everybody stays on the face, the fight takes a very, very long time.
You do so much damage by breaking the tail.
I had pulls where we just ran out of platform.
Oh dear. Which means his next slam would have killed everybody.
Yeah. We had everybody standing on the center and then getting killed in the slam.
Oh dear. So, aside from everybody dying to the wave, I think I got off fairly lightly then.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that nobody's going to have that experience really anymore of what it used to be like. But I mean, that's the way it is. Like, I remember there actually being fighting taking place in Praetorium. It was never the toughest fight. The Ultimate Weapon was never the toughest fight, but you still had to fight him and you still had to do mechanics.
People were
Rather than stand in the corner and take a nap while the rest of the party actually does something. Potentially.
Well, just now, me and Vol were tanking Ultima because we were preempting heals and putting our dots up early, or whatever, and everybody else was just kind of sitting on the ground.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, because it's not like the tanks can build a lot of threat on him in that start of the fight because he takes like 1% damage or something.
I would really hate to be someone at the moment who wanted to do that content properly, because it is the climax of the Realm Reborn story, the base story.
Yeah, if you came in with a small group of 4 people and you all were playing at the same time and all got Ironworks gear, you could probably do it legit.
I think that the issue is that they're trying to do this fine balance to keep the roulettes populated, but also tune the item level down. So they are using item level capping on a lot of the content that people will be going through their leveling experience, but they don't want to cap it down so low that it becomes too much work for people to do that roulette. It's a population control thing.
Yeah. I'm glad though that they didn't do that again since. So every other climax story is a 4-man dungeon now, or it's a 8-man trial.
Yeah, the Shadowbringers trials get pretty intense.
Yeah. You don't have this big long slog that takes an hour, and half the group's only there to get their tombstone.
Well, I mean, it was an experiment, and that's really all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Nidhogg onwards, trial wise, all their 8-man content is really you have to be on the ball, or you're gonna.
Man, you had to be on the ball in Ravana once upon a time.
Do not
The number of people I saw
song
just
though.
get flicked off the edge was ridiculously high. Whatchamacallit, Bismarck was always easy, although
Bismarck
I had
was.
seen wipes. I have seen wipes to Bismarck, but Bismarck was always easy. But Ravana could absolutely murder groups if the group didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. I could have still seen the C groups being wiped out by Lakshmi too.
Well, that's if they don't know to push the button.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta press
the-
the button so you
that's
don't
something-
get tucked between her boobs.
It's sort of adding a semi-novel mechanic there that most people don't realize. Oh, they've got to click this thing on. I remember the first time that I saw it, I was like, I didn't know where the button was because I had never had that UI element come up before.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, I kept frantically trying to figure out the controller button to push for it because I play on controller,
Yeah.
and it's hold R2 right-click stick in, but it doesn't tell you this unless you're already holding down R2. So when it got to that point in the fight, I was just clicking it until I eventually figured it out.
Oh dear. Did you end up getting killed by it, or did you make?
No, because I watched the video beforehand, I knew when to push the button,
Yep.
but I couldn't find it on the controller, so I just went and clicked it the first few times.
Yeah. Yeah, Lakshmi is still a very good fight though. Okay.
I think it's relatively basic. You've got to do all of the normal stuff about not standing in poop and so on and so forth, plus the vril mechanic. But
Yeah.
it's not too overly challenging.
No, and it's got a good atmosphere
it's-
to it.
It's got an interesting atmosphere, but I liked Susanoo much more.
Oh,
Yeah,
the primal
even though he kills my arm.
Well, that depends on how attentive your group is to doing the DPS correctly.
We got down to 1 second today. I was doing it with Avo for his story mission, and we got down to 1 singular second on the timer left for the sword before it was going to kill me, and I had to keep mashing that whole time.
Yeah. Although I just love in the Hildebrand quest, you actually get to brag about doing that quick time event.
Even if you haven't tanked it.
I haven't, but you can still brag about it. Yeah, Yojimbo decides he's going to go off after and try and steal that sword.
I see.
Yeah, slight spoilers. Yeah. Everyone's racking their brains because where do I know that name for? Oh, I stopped it from smashing my group to a fine paste. Yeah. Super humble there, Warrior of Light. But yeah, it's been a fun time. I'm still enjoying getting back in and playing it, even if I don't have the time I'd like for it.
What's with all the damage this group is taking, Aristeel?
Are they bad?
They're standing in the Magitech lasers.
Yes, they're bad.
I actually had to heal that entire fight, almost.
You're not supposed to need
Like-
to heal that fight at all.
Well, everybody was losing health all the time.
They
They're
were just
bad.
kind of they were just kind of eating the Magitech lasers, and the tanks weren't pushing their buttons until the
Well,
very end.
I'm already on half health. Maybe I should just stand in front of this laser some more.
Let's just suck on this laser until people do something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was spamming aspected Helios. Like every time their hot fell off, I'd reapply it on everybody that fight.
Oh dear.
It's hard to die in that fight, but if you deliberately try and suck on as much laser as possible, you may in fact end up having to inspect the floor.
Yeah, lasers bad. No standy.
Because it's Praetorium, we cannot let people die in this fight, otherwise we'll get called autistic.
I'd let them die, and it's their own fault. Yeah.
We nearly
If you're
let
a
the tank
trade
die.
Tauren, you have to actively
I had
try
him
to get killed.
I had him actively targeted, ready to insta heal him as soon as he got to below 4K.
What?
I saw both of our instant heals pop his face off and bring him back to full.
Oh no, that was a heal I was precasting because I knew his health was going to continue to drop.
Actually
I
hurts my
didn't use
brain.
any emergency heals. But yeah, Fern, we're still on your week.
That's pretty much it. I have fallen into play a little bit more of Valheim with a group of friends. We've been kicking around and enjoying that. It still doesn't like having Australians and Americans in the same place at the same time, though. Servers tend to go boom when that happens.
I
yeah.
see.
It's still a good, solid game. They've put out the Hearth and Home expansion fairly recently, which didn't add too much in the way of combat mechanics. It did add a whole bunch of stuff you can build and use to decorate your base, though, including, for some reason, Viking hot tubs.
I don't think Vikings had hot tubs.
These ones do.
Alright, whatever works. I mean,
Yeah.
I can understand the appeal,
Yes, having a hot tub is always a better thing than having no hot tub.
especially if it's snowy everywhere.
Yes. So that's been my week, and not anymore. Well, what you been doing?
Well, my little vacation ended, and I went back to Christchurch. I went back to work, and I think after 2 days of work, I've had enough of work and don't want to be there anymore. I want to go back on vacation. Unfortunately, I can't just be on vacation all the time because I need to get paid.
Curse you, money.
So, I continued. I haven't so much since I got back here, but I played a bunch of Monster Hunter stories, and I have built 4 monsters. I haven't decided what I'm going to use for the last 2 of a regular party yet, but so I've got a none of them are perfected, none of them are complete, but they're all sort of like on the way and at the point where the approach that I am trying to take with them has hit the point of functionality. So I've got Mizutsune as one of my technical monsters. The main point of Mizutsune, however, is not really combat, it is sliding around. That is the purpose of Mizutsune, is that rather than having to walk like some kind of plebeian, you can just slide.
I mean, as far as monsters go, Mitsune is fairly chill. Until you annoy her. In which case she'll bubble your face off.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoy Mizutsune. Mizutsune is one of my favourite monsters, and gives you the ability to slide around the map. I've constructed Nergigante. Now I've basically built Nergigante to be a largely element agnostic sort of general purpose power bruiser, so that, you know, when I don't know what I should be doing to tackle a situation, I can just have this guy come in here and be a thug and beat the crap out of them.
What he do?
And I think that seems to me like a reasonable approach. I'm missing a bunch of the genes for him, though. I mean, it's less important because I'm not building him with a special strategy in mind of any kind, so it doesn't really matter if I'm missing a few bits and pieces here. But yeah, it's a lot of the stuff that I want for him are sort of like really, really powerful, tanky things like self-healing and that, and the high rank ones are only droppable from Elder Dragons. I can't get the genes anywhere except for Elder Dragon eggs. So I'm kind of stuck. I've got lower rank versions of him though, so he still works quite well. I've built a Stygian Zenogre to be another technical monster. He's kind of incomplete right now, but I've built him around crit, so rather than tanking, he will just heal when he crits and basically exploit crit a lot. his pure dragon element, so focus most of his power on using by getting every possible bingo on dragon element. So yeah, that's the way I've built him. And my favorite is my bagel goose. So I built a bagel goose.
You weren't too sure on old Basil last week.
No, because the thing is that it doesn't make any sense. The build I made the build for the memes because Bagel Goose. It doesn't make any sense because Bagel Goose is a speed monster, and most of the really good fire genes are power. So you can't ever really make him like sort of meta good.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be a little bit behind the potential, but I've enjoyed the memes so much that it doesn't matter. He's my absolute favorite monster to use at the moment. I've just put everything into him buffing Blast, basically. I don't know whether Fire Element affects Blast or not. I don't really...
Don't know.
I'm not really sure about that.
They don't really interact too much in the game.
Yeah, but I don't... but the thing is that pretty much every monster that has Blast in the bulk of Monster Hunter games is a fire monster.
Yeah.
There are increasing numbers of exceptions, but the two tend to be associated. But the build for Bagel Goose doesn't rely on that. I've built him relatively heavy in the fire direction simply because sometimes you just need a beat stick, and so I've given him the genes to use the Rathalos breath attack, so that I've got like a generic standard elemental attack that has at least some bingo support. For those times when you just need to set something on fire. But I've built the rest of it around just continually buffing up his blast, and so I've given him like his roar that gives him the blast skill. I've given him Pink Rathian's self buff to just increase his raw power, and I've given him a bunch of skills which just put blast on everybody that he can get his paws on. Well, he doesn't really have paws, but I was like, oh, I don't know how well this is going to perform because Blast I've always found a bit underwhelming in conventional mainline Monster Hunter games.
Yep.
But I forgot to the first time I really got it to stick in a good time that I could see the effects of it. I was kicking myself because oh man, I set all this up, but I forgot to use the blast buff to that Bagel Goose has to increase the damage. Oh well, we'll just see what it does. And it did like 1100 damage from the blast going off. And a really solid monster hit from a non-optimized but properly raised monster at my level, you're looking at maybe 400 damage. But this blast popped for more than 1,000. So I was pretty chuffed by that. It's a bit of an ordeal to get all of his buffs lined up and then put the blast down, but it's Bagel Goose, so it's great fun. Plus, he can fly, which makes navigating the maps in the hub areas a lot easier.
I'd be very reluctant to fly on a Bagel Goose, admittedly.
Yeah, there's some technical issues. There are things that could go wrong, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
To suddenly just face plant in the ground and explode.
What could possibly go wrong?
Totally fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, I can't see any possible negative outcomes from that. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for my other slots yet. I've got a speed slot, because you generally want 2 of each, right? You can only take 3 if you're doing co-op, so you generally want a couple choices for each. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for my other power slot and my other speed slot. I would like to branch out into some other elements, but I'm not really sure how to construct the other ones yet. I'm more familiar with fire and dragon, because fire you see a lot of throughout the game, and dragon there aren't that many dragon genes generally speaking. The only 2 really strong dragon types are Pickle and Stygian Zynoga. Yep. Which is part of the reason why I decided to put one in my group, because well, one of the main deviants is Dread Queen Rathian, which is a speed monster weak to dragon, and dragon is not something that appears all that frequently, so you're not likely to get regularly hard counted. But yeah, I'm not really sure how to build the others. Ice seems to be a very popular meta choice for PvP, because a lot of what is it? I can't remember what the negative stats is called, but it locks one of your attack types.
Oh, skill seal?
Yeah, that's the one. Skill seal seems to be most heavily associated with ice, and likewise for lightning, paralysis is heavily associated with lightning, and so you tend to see a lot of PvP builds which use that approach. I'm not really all that sure what I'm going to do with my other slots. I was thinking maybe Astalos, but I'm not really sure because I don't have any special attachment to it or anything. I'm just not really sure what to use for those, but I'll have to think of what I'm going to do to fill out those slots. I don't really have much time to play it though. That's the thing. I've got too many games on the go right now that I'm trying to play.
Yeah.
Which is in some ways is a nice problem to have, but is also an incredibly frustrating problem to have that I wish I didn't have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of annoying. But yeah. So that's pretty much Monster Hunter stories for the time being. What else? So FGO, we are in Onlyland mode at the moment. The Onlyland rerun is happening. And I enjoyed it last time. I'm enjoying it this time. Nothing's changed. It's the rerun, so it's pretty much the same as it ever was. It's a role that I particularly enjoy for shooting. I think she does it very well. The Oni version of a magical girl, where she basically she doesn't really care about anything. She's totally blasé about everything that's taking place, and she's basically practically a punch clock hero. It's like, oh well, I mean, somebody's got to keep the Oni under control. I don't really care, to be honest.
Given it's shooting, how sober is she?
Well, she never sounds sober, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But yeah, it's a fun event, especially with Ibaraki being incredibly innocent about the whole thing and doesn't at no point seems to realize that it's actually shooting dressed as a magical girl.
I mean, she is a banana.
She's not the cleverest. She's not the cleverest bulb in the shed, as it were. But yeah, there's not really much to say about that. I threw 20 tickets at the banner and got basically nothing. I got yet another copy of Summer Ibaraki, who isn't really a terribly useful servant in any way. So, not thrilled about that. I was hoping for another shoot-in or Shitonai, but yeah, can't have everything, unfortunately. The gacha is as the gacha does. So, most of the rest of my time has been spent on FF, obviously. I've made a bit of progress on Shadowbringers, not a huge amount, because, like I said, part of the week I was back at my parents' place, and it was not working. Not working for me. Not a great experience.
Tried.
Not really ideal. I tried. I made very little progress. I'm not built for it. It's not built for it. That old laptop of mine. It tried. It did its best, but it's not built for it. It was screeching, trying to keep things running, trying to keep itself cool enough not to implode.
Yeah. But
yeah. So yeah, I've made a bit of progress. Seen a bit of content. Ari's done some dungeons with me. It's basically leveling content. I'm just enjoying the sort of the atmosphere and the story and the way it's all told. It really, like, I think this expansion, the most of all, feels like a Final Fantasy game. Like, feels like a mainline Final Fantasy game in a lot of ways.
The story is such a step up, even from what we already had.
Like, you definitely just feel like you're playing a totally regular Final Fantasy. Like, it's got all of the character development, all of the dramatic beats that you expect, a similar sort of story structure. It feels like a full-fledged RPG, not like what you normally get is something that is very essentially an MMO but feels kind of RPG-ish at times. Whereas this feels like a full-fledged RPG that, oh, well, and you can play with other people type of thing.
Yeah. Well,
And Shadowbringers has Emmett Selk.
It does, who Ari appears to be inordinately fond of. But we aren't going to talk any more about him because I don't want to spoil Fern.
no spoilers, please.
So, yeah. So especially considering how important he is to the end of Stormblood, but yeah, it's a good time. I'm enjoying it. It's a very well put together, story driven MMO experience. It's something that you just don't get much of. Like if you look at World of Warcraft, it's a joke compared to even the worst parts of Final Fantasy XIV. But they're hitting real new heights in Shadowbringers. Like it's just they've done a very good job of telling the story really well and dropping the right number of plot threads for you to sort of get hooked in by, and it's generally well put together and I'm enjoying it.
But Endwalker, which looks like it's going to kick things up even higher, literally, because we're going to the moon.
Well,
the moon.
we see the warrior light on the moon, but we don't know what that means.
It's in a zone. The moon. There is a zone on the moon.
To the moon, we're playing Tails.
Yep.
Well, I mean, sooner or later in a JRPG, you are obliged to go to space.
Even if it makes zero sense. In fact, especially if it makes zero sense.
Fences for other genres.
Yes.
But yeah. So over the course of, I don't know whether it was just because it was old or because I was traveling or because of some combination of the two, but my mouse started to go on the fritz and I've already repaired it a number of times. So I was like, you know what, I can't be bothered cracking it open and trying to repair it again when the odds on this time it will break, because you can only straighten a spring so many times before it can't take the metal fatigue anymore. So I decided to get another mouse, but I wasn't really sure what to get, because I would like to get an MMO mouse, since when it comes to games, the most time I spend by far, I spend playing MMOs, and I've never had an MMO mouse before. Unfortunately, the only brand that I could get a hold of that really makes one, well, there is more than one, but the other ones are kind of dodgy. Like they look like they've seen a picture of an MMO mouse before somewhere and have made one on that basis. But the only people that make one is Razer, and I was like, no, well, that's not even a reasonable prospect, is it? It's Razer. But I looked into see what their range of models was, and they've updated their MMO mouse not once but several times since their original famously defective attempts at the concept.
Yes.
The approach that they have taken since then, well, there are a couple of MMO mice that they make actually. One of them has this sort of like swappable side plate thing, so you can put like a regular side plate on the mouse, or you can put one which has 6 buttons, or you can put one that has 12 buttons or whatever, depending on, I don't know. It seems like a gimmick to me, but probably because it is a gimmick. But yeah, they can do that, but apparently that the whole swappable thing just makes it prone to failure.
Yeah, a lot of the time that's the way these things go.
So yeah, technically speaking, yes, that's the thing you can do, but no, don't buy that mouse. I've seen a lot of reports that it fails. So scratch that one off the list. And so I looked at their conventional, simplified MMO mouse without so many of the bells and whistles. It was more focused on being a mouse. It seems that they've updated it a few times, and they've switched from their old, notoriously miserable micro switches to proprietary optical ones, and they've in fact gone through an entire generation of those and then updated them because the first generation sucked. So I decided I'd just basically take a punt on it for science, because it was the place I normally buy stuff from was having a sale on them, so that basically made it the same price as another mouse, as opposed to significantly more expensive, a la Razer. So I just took a punt on it.
I was reluctant because, it's Razer, but if it turns out good, I could be convinced to buy one.
I kept all the packaging. I kept all the packaging, because you never know.
Confidence.
You never know with the Razer products. So it's not. Yeah. It's. I've gotten it now. I'm using it at the moment. It's a thing. Let's see, what sort of thing though. There's a lot about it that's quite nice and feels quite premium. The braiding on the cable looks like a looks like higher quality braiding than on the Logitech mice, but the actual cable feels like it might not be as high quality inside. But provided the braiding holds up, then that's not going to be a problem. Provided the braiding holds up. The mouse itself feels a little bit more plasticky in a lot of ways than the Logitech mice, but that's been the trend for gaming mice, is that they've gotten more and more plasticky over time. So honestly, I'm not terribly surprised by that. It just seems like it's probably par for the course, to be honest. But the software is like almost pathologically focused on lighting.
Oh yeah. The Logitech
Like
one's actually very much like that now as well.
The amount of effort that they've put into making custom lighting studios where you can design custom effects and layer them on top of each other and draw things in lights and colours, and it's a bit disturbing actually, to be quite honest. I think I'm actually going to fail this fate due to sheer lack of DPS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ari, are you free?
Yeah, I just turned off my controller, but I can teleport to where you are.
Can you go to Black Brush? I've got 3.5 minutes to kill this boss, and there's not enough DPS here.
I'm turning the controller back on.
So,
but
with the Logitech one, I have it installed on my computer, but it's basically the same thing. It's very much focused on lighting. I wouldn't have it installed if it didn't also add a warning when the battery on the wireless mouse was going to. That's the only feature I'm using of it.
Yeah, so I'm not using any of the lighting features. I just set the light to static, and please don't bother me.
Just leave me alone.
But yeah, it's being a very much a trial for me, learning to use a 12-button keypad. It's easier to do healing straight off the bat than it ever was before using my old setup. My old setup was it was very semantic in a lot of ways. I had created certain patterns that held consistent across games and classes about the way that I bound things to my mouse. On my previous setup, where I had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 0 negative equals, all bound to the mouse, and I had set that up so there would always be certain types of abilities would always appear on certain buttons, and certain what do you call it? Modifier keys would have particular effects on what those abilities did by switching them to another ability, and so on and so forth. I had a logic to the way I set everything up.
Yep.
And that has just been completely disposed of because the layout of this is totally different. Are you actually fighting this thing, Aristiel? Are you synced in?
Yeah, I'm synced in.
Okay. But yeah, so it's an interesting experience, and I feel like a noob all over again because I keep hitting the wrong buttons and doing the wrong thing all the time, and it's kind of embarrassing to be totally honest.
During my days as playing maining Scholar, I could not heal without the MMO mouse.
Yeah,
Because you just end up with too many buttons.
I got an MMO mouse originally for healing.
Yeah, it makes a world of difference once you get over the kind of the learning hurdle.
Yeah, I hope that I will get used to it soon, because I feel like I can't impose myself upon a group of randoms until I'm no longer a total clown at playing using this mouse.
Yeah. At least now, though, you have the option of imposing yourself upon some bots for a little while.
Yes, I think I'm going to have to do that, because I can't stand the shame of attempting to play with the amount of stupid crap I keep doing. I think the thing with the mouse, the other thing about the mouse that makes it hard to learn to use, is that it's just structurally different from the Logitech equivalent. The Logitech mouse is designed to sort of be, it lends itself more to pinching between the thumb and the ring finger.
Yep.
Whereas this has a little extension which is a rest for the ring finger.
All right.
So all three fingers rest on the mouse, and so your pinky will lie alongside the mouse, and your ring finger will be on top of this little ledge at the far right end of the mouse, and then you sort of guide the whole mouse using those two fingers. Whereas the Logitech one sort of sits between the thumb and the ring finger. So yeah, it's a very different sort of structure there. The most obvious design flaw that I've seen with it though is that the buttons are, in order to be lit, they have to be transparent, right? Or at least somewhat translucent.
Yep.
And the black is just painted on, and it looks like it's just going to wear off real quickly.
Yeah, probably.
To be honest,
so.
it just doesn't look like a quality job as far as that's concerned. As scratches in general, wear and tear are just going to wear them away. I mean, it's not structurally going to be a problem for the mouse. It's just paint, but it's not really a great look, to be honest.
Makes it look cheap.
It does, but it's quite a bit lighter than my previous mouse. Not like ridiculously light, but it is a lot lighter, and that's been a bit odd getting used to that as well. So yeah, all in all, it's a very different experience to what I am used to, and it's taking me a while to get to grips with it. But yeah, hopefully it will work out well for me. I don't know. I'm having a great deal of difficulty playing Final Fantasy at the moment because I've reorganized everything, and I keep moving things around because I'm not happy with where they are. And then when Endwalker comes out, I'm probably going to have to ransack my setup again.
Yeah, depending on your class.
Yeah, it's I really hope they keep the trust system going in Endwalker.
I hope
because
so. It's a pretty neat system.
Well, it's just useful. Like, I play with a controller, so when I change a button layout, I radically change how I play the game because I don't have any kind of cerebral anything going on when I'm pushing buttons on a controller. It's all instinctual and getting used to where the buttons are. So if I change my layout, I'll be hitting the wrong button consistently for a while. But with the trust system, all I have to do is go into Holminster Switch for one or two bosses, and I'm put into a scenario that's close enough to a real scenario that I can practice. And
I mean, the only person you're really going to annoy is Alphino.
Well, he doesn't. No, you don't.
You can't. Alphino is biased.
Yes, he is.
Alphino's terrible. I think you have to take him as the healer, actually. But if at all possible, you don't take Alphino because he's terrible.
If you put Alphino and Alisei in a team together, apparently he will let you die and just to save Alisei.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, gee, thanks, Alphino.
Well, he's a politician, not a battlefield technician.
Yeah.
If you take a politician to a fight, I mean, you're going to get what you get.
Yeah.
Their own personal interests always come first.
But take those healing lasers off him then. Get him out of here.
Yeah, it's much better when you get Urianger as a healer. He's so much better.
He's an astrologian analog, isn't he?
Yeah, he has a proper job now. He's an astrologian, and he's way more sensible with his healing than Alphino is.
What god mode abilities do the healers get?
I haven't looked at them enough to really pay attention to it, but they seem to be able to do just fine. I don't know if they need them, but they probably have them. Y'shtola is the best DPS. She's a black mage with, 7th Scion Umbral Fire instead of the regular Umbral Fire that does a stupid amount of damage, and whatever the third hit of her combo is called hits for like almost 100k every time.
Oh joy!
So they give the NPCs cheater abilities to make up for the fact that they just can't do any damage normally.
No wonder she looks down on me so much. But yeah, so I'm having a good time with it. There's lots of really cool little set pieces, like the one that I just did, which is basically a little sort of Tomb Raider sort of segment where you're burgling an old temple or whatever, and you do the whole running down the hallway while a boulder is chasing you type of thing. You know the type.
Yeah. So yeah, I cannot wait to get to the next expansion, honestly. But There is still a lot of good story hooks left in Stormblood that I haven't hit yet.
You gotta do the petting zoo.
I do the petting zoo, which I'm coming up on, I believe.
It's in 5.2.
Okay, so I got a little bit to go. Nothing, not too much.
You'll know when
Yeah.
the Scions take a significant financial hit.
Alphino's fault.
It is Alphino's fault.
It's Alphino's fault, and Turtle Bro says, I know how you can make your money back. And then you go do the petting zoo with him and Tataru.
Wait, Tataru actually goes out in the field?
Yeah, I wouldn't count on her abilities as an adventurer if I were you.
She's a secretary and tailor. She's not an adventurer.
Just wait till you have to do a solo boss fight with her included in the petting zoo.
How much of it is stop Tataru being eaten?
She's very good at making sure your life is very difficult in that fight.
Oh, gee, thanks.
To be fair, her experience is analogous to most summoners.
Yeah. Oh no, my pet is being chewed on again.
Well, it's more that she gets chewed on by her pet.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, I think that the dungeon leading up to it is really cool as well.
Because I've got the Sunken City to do next. That's kind of where my story mode's locked at the moment, because it's time. Actually takes time to do a dungeon.
Oh, we can do that with you later if you want.
Afterwards, yeah.
Hopefully you guys can make up for my complete ineptitude.
As long as you can make up for mine.
What level are you, Fern?
72.
70? 72?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't quite heal it yet, but I can come tank it or something for you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah.
I don't think I've really got much else to talk about this week. Of course, the anime season has come to an end, and it has ended as it started, stunningly mediocre, generally speaking, across the board.
There's been nothing this season I've kept up with except for stuff.
There's no standout feature. No, the stuff that I was following was all quite mediocre. Even stuff that I was really interested in was quite mediocre. Not really anything much to write home about. Yeah, I can't really think of anything. Honestly, this year for anime has been a bit generally.
Yeah.
It's not that awesome for the most part. The only one that I remember just like being really, really enjoying was Combatants Have Been Dispatched. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that
Adventures of a
show.
truly terrible person.
I'm reading the books at the moment. I have the first 5 of them.
Oh my!
I've read the first one. It's sort of you can tell it's the same content. You can also tell it's written by the guy. Like it was published after Konosuba, but he wrote it earlier on as so he's obviously a less experienced writer, and there are a few curious stylistic decisions as well. It's all in first person present, which can make it extremely difficult to determine who is speaking occasionally, because there are occasional point of view shifts.
Oh, that sounds confusing.
But it's not too frequent, so it's not ridiculous or impossible. But yeah, it is certainly a bit odd, a bit of a curious decision. It also makes clear something that's not really terribly clear in the anime, which is that mostly, how do I explain this? It's sort of like 6 is not quite as much of a pervert in his head as he is to everybody else. It's more that there appears to be a sort of a defective connection between his brain and his mouth. Like there's just it's not even quite the same as there being no filter, although there is definitely no filter. Is like anything that he intends to communicate tends to emerge from his mouth in a fashion which is carefully crafted to cause the maximum amount of offense possible.
That might explain a few things.
And he's not consciously doing it either. Like, you'll get his internal monologue interspersed with the things he's actually saying to other people, and his internal monologue is most often relatively cogent observations, but then his reaction that emerges from his mouth is something radically unsuitable. So yeah, it's a fun read as well, although the style is a bit iffy, but I mean, it's a light novel, you can only expect so much, especially considering it's like material done earlier in his career. The style in which Konosuba books are written is much more groomed, but yeah, it's I've read a lot of the Konosuba books as well. I don't know what number I'm up to actually, probably like 14 or something like that. I've read a lot of them anyway, but it's the stories are sort of becoming, I don't think repetitive is the right word, but it's like they're treading the same sort of emotional ground, I guess, and not really getting anywhere at this point. I think they really need to shake things up a bit, but it looks like they're sort of heading in that direction. But they're running out of demon generals to crush, so yeah. Anyway, I'll leave my week there.
With how flat this anime season is, I might actually pick up a manga or two. I've actually been recommended to go and read the manga for Sleepy Princess in a Demon Castle. Because as much of a monster as the princess is in the anime, it's nothing compared to what she does in the manga.
You mean she's a monster? I think she's absolutely delightful.
Depends on whose perspective you're looking from.
All right.
Yeah, I still recommend that anime, by the way, even if it has been toned down, because it does stay on point. So yeah.
We should probably go to a break.
We probably should.
So here's some music, folks. We will be right back. And we're back.
Oh, beauty. No worry, it was
So,
your week, I believe.
my week isn't going to differ too much from Balls because I spent most of my free time playing Final Fantasy
Hmm?
and just doing stuff, a whole lot of miscellaneous stuff mostly.
Oh,
So I finished off the post game for Shadowbringers. I did that on Sunday and got to do the last trial. And the last trial is very, very dense in the raw number of insta kill mechanics.
good dear.
They're not quite as unforgiving as like Nail trying to solo Nail Van Darnus, but or Nail Deus Darnus, but it's still a lot of instant kill mechanics where if you screw up, you just die.
You said that, and all I could think was no.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's a fun fight. He's a good climax boss. I think the end boss for the main story of Shadowbringers I like a bit more, but I'll save that for when people actually catch up to talk about the character stories. But as a boss fight, he's really good. He also requires the tank level 3 limit break in the middle of the fight,
Oh.
and the timing on it is super tight. So I did it right. I didn't kill the group. I was quite happy about that. But the advice I got was tap your foot twice to the beat of the song, and then after his bar appears, push the button after 2 taps. So, and that
very
works
specific timing.
because it's a multi-hit super that lasts a long time. So you got to keep your limit break active the entire time.
So is there no combination of group mitigation that is sufficient without a limit break as well?
You have to tank limit break 3 plus group mitigation if you want to survive it. There is no other way to survive that thing. Everybody's got to do everything they can to survive, as well as tank limit break 3. It hits way too hard. But they give you a level 3 limit break to use at that time. And that's also the checkpoint in the fight. So if you manage to survive that point, you checkpoint the fight, and we'll start from that point onwards if you wipe. And we did wipe once after that point because there's just a whole lot of instant kill garbage going around. But we got it down the second time and managed to get him. And that was it for significant stuff in the MSQ. There's a few more dungeons after that. The second to last one's a lot of fun. It's not particularly difficult, but it is really fun. And the last dungeon, I'll save talk about it for when somebody else does it, because my impressions of it were kind of mixed. But yeah, I really enjoyed everything Shadowbringers did. I think it was a genuinely good story and expansion, single player wise anyway. And the group content that was there was, for the most part, pretty good. There weren't any real low points aside from the forest. There was
I haven't had any trouble with the forest so far. I think that the forest is just fine for a forest zone.
I guess it's a big part of it for me is the music of the forest and how it gets just like a drill in your head. If I have to hear that song one more time, I'm going to pull my hair out.
I haven't gotten to the point where I'm sick of it yet.
So yeah. And I just wasn't as engaged, but it's not bad. It's not Arm Steps with the Amra nomad people. It's still engaging. It's just the lowest point of a very good expansion, which is still pretty good.
Aurum Steps, since now I've actually recently done it, I didn't mind it too much, except for one major point where you kind of literally get sat down by one of the characters and he just dumps lore on you. And if you actually read it, it takes like half an hour to go through.
Yeah, I did not care about those little nomad people.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's not the nomad. It's the smug bastard who sits in the bowl on top in the middle of the zone.
Yeah,
That
he's
arsehole.
he's the current leader of all the tribes.
Yeah,
But
not anymore.
yeah, he's interesting in scenes later. But his introductory scene, I just didn't care about him.
But he's an asshole.
Yeah. So yeah. The rest of the week, I just made sure I got on and did all my roulettes, and I've just dumped all my roulettes onto my Astrologian. And I actually, because I was coming home from work exhausted and would go straight to a nap as soon as I got home, I would get up in time for Vol to be on, and me, him, and Abo would go do roulettes for the first part of the week.
You
Well,
keep such bizarre sleep schedules.
So, I try to sleep twice. I try to sleep in the afternoon at some point, and I try to sleep a little bit in the evening or morning. And that just works way better than getting all my sleep at once. Because if I get all my sleep at once and I wake up, I'm a zombie for like 3 hours, and I'm totally useless.
Huh.
So I try to break my sleep up so the zombify effect lasts at most an hour, and it just seems to work better. But I don't always get this luxury, and sometimes I'm just not tired when I get home. But this week I was. Work wore me out, so I passed out as soon as I got home and got up in time to do roulettes. In the mornings, that was my evenings. In the mornings, I would play my summoner, though. And in the mornings, I wanted to play summoner because they're changing it. It's kind of the opposite rationale Ball has for not playing it. I wanted to see what's going to change because I don't have a handle on how summoner plays at all. I haven't heard about it for years and how it works. I haven't seen it in parties. I just didn't know.
You don't see very many summoners around at all.
So I wanted a picture in my head of what it used to be to see what it's changing into. I just thought that'd be something fun to have because I like comparing old things to new things. So I've been very steadily leveling my summoner. And
Also,
I was surprised. Yeah, but the Scholar's just kind of along for the ride. I hate Scholar healing.
Yeah, it's getting changed as well, though, so we'll see what happens with that.
Is it?
Is
I
it?
thought the scholars were on suicide watch.
Yeah, they're on suicide watch because
Yeah,
it's
they
not
are.
changing very much.
But they got a few changes, but their biggest change was you can use Peloton in combat.
Well, that's yeah, it's like every other class has this awesome gap closer or way to help their party members get around.
You can make them
The Scholar's ability is waddle faster.
Yeah.
You're saying that because the demonstration was in Lalafell.
Yes.
That's why it's a waddle.
Which did not help.
So I've been dumping it into Summoner. I haven't been playing Scholar at all. I don't like it. And Summoner, even in its jank state right now with a dot class in a game with really long global cooldowns for a dot class, where one of your biggest dot is on the GCD, it's still more fun to me than Black Mage for the caster classes. I just don't like the very magical Turpet style of Black Mage.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just a matter
just-
of taste, really.
Yeah.
Because there are a
So-
lot of people who love being a magical turpet.
Yeah, if it's your thing, cool. It's not for me though. So I've been it'll be like one of those things when I've leveled absolutely everything. If I'm still playing this game, I'll go back to Black Mage, but it's been my least favorite of the DPSs so far.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's been I was shocked how quickly I was able to get it up. Just by dedicating my morning time to getting it leveled, I got it to 50 in a week, and it only was like 2 or 3 hours a morning. Just the first day, well, I grounded up on Sunday evening to 15, and then just every morning from there on, I would just do 2 or 3 dungeons. Not roulettes, just dungeons. And that was enough to get me there, with a little bit of hunting log and fates in between. So I got up there really, really fast. And it was helped by, because I have a max level character, you get the EXP boost, plus the 50% or whatever from the newbie ring for the first 30 levels, and the 30% I get from the pre-order earrings for Endwalker.
Yep.
Plus the food buff. Plus rest of the EXP that I've been accruing since I haven't been leveling stuff for a while.
Plus the needy healer bonus.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't get that one because I don't play Scholar.
Oh, okay.
I sat through the DPS queue, and I did the hunting logs and the fates while I was in between queues.
Oh, gotcha.
But so yeah, got that up to 50 and experimenting with it. I also want to get a magical DPS to max level so that I can do the role quest for it. Because apparently there's a story there and a conclusion to the role quest stories that you don't get to see unless you do all 4 of them, which are physical, magical DPS, and tank and healer. So I'm getting Scholar up there for my magical, or not Scholar, Summoner up there for my magical DPS.
That's kind
But
of neat.
the bulk of my alt class enjoyment has gone into my Astrologian. Did not expect to enjoy healing. It was something I picked up mostly as a joke. But playing healer on a controller is a lot of fun. Especially when I discovered cast off my target macros for my offensive crap. Yeah, I can't queue them up, but usually I don't want to chain cast Malefic. I want to interrupt it to play with my cards. So it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. That's why I say
And-
use an MMO mouse for healing. It does feel so much better.
Yeah, but it's dead simple just to use the D-pad to shift through the party list and find who's low, and then just hold the appropriate trigger and push the button. I have all my Healy crap on my right trigger and all my offensive crap on my left trigger. Well, offense and utility crap on my left trigger.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I've been really enjoying it. I don't think I'll start maining healer, but it has been a lot of fun, and Astrologian will probably become my secondary class. It's a lot of fun to play as a healer too, just because you have so many options and what you can do. And if you go hot focused with their diurnal spec right now, you can just hot everybody and double hot everybody and just forget about everybody for a little bit to go play with your cards and your and do DPS.
Yep.
So it's a good time.
Astrologian's also changing because they're getting rid of.
Nocturnal Sect and Diurnal Sect. Diurnal Sect's effects will be base.
Yeah.
They're changing them to a pure healer instead of a stance-based hybrid healer, where they can be either.
Healer.
They can be okay at either one for the entirety of until they're out of combat. You can't change it mid-combat, but that just doesn't work because nobody ever wants to be in Nocturnal Sect unless it's just busted right now, which it has been occasionally in the past, apparently. Because shield barrier heals just aren't as good.
Yeah.
Well, that's the current damage model doesn't support the use. The game is too focused on, like, at the higher level, you're all completely focused on economizing your healing to react perfectly with the exact measure of reaction that is required. You don't even use regen type heals. You don't use hots at all in really high end play if you can help it, because you should have the fight down to the point where you know exactly how much healing is required at each time. But you can't really control your output when it comes to shielding, because the shield is going to constantly get carved away by auto attacks and things. So yeah, it's not really the same sort of thing. Part of why scholars are on suicide watch, I guess, because they don't really fit that well with the way the damage model is currently constructed, and with the Sage being a shield-based healer, they're probably going to get most of the love.
Yeah,
so I may not like healing as a scholar. I don't like it any more than Ari does, but I do feel bad for the people that do.
Yeah, I don't like pet management when I'm healing. The cards are okay once you learn how to quickly glance at them, like you're looking at the speedometer in your car to see what you got. They're not that big of a deal, but pet management always requires you in every single fight to know where your pet is and what the heck it's doing, and who it's healing, and what's the time, and get used to the auto dispel timer and junk. I just don't want to deal with any of that. Plus the barrier healing.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather be in direct control of all the heals going on.
Yeah. When I roll up healer, once I reach the end of the storyline, I'll probably try it with Sage at this point. I've done my time as a healer, as a scholar.
But yeah, I've genuinely enjoyed Astrologian, at least in Diurnal Sect, because you can. I played it as a joke because Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
Like I did not intend to seriously put any time or leveling into it, but ever since I've started playing it, I've just kind of kept doing my roulettes on it and having fun with it. So I still don't like it as much as tanking, but I could do healing, and I feel like I'm doing it competently in with a controller. And it's very hard to describe healing with a controller because it turns what normally is an exercise in watching the bars into something that you just kind of. Well, the example before of glancing at a speedometer is very accurate with the diurnal sect astrologian. You look over there and you see how everybody's doing whenever you see something that looks like it did damage, and then you fix the problem, and you know exactly how many taps of the D-pad you need to get to hit to get to everybody you saw that was low, and you can just push the button. Just hold the trigger and push the button. So it's a lot more just. It feels organically playing the game as a healer rather than I'm casting regrowth and having to think about it. You're just doing it with a controller. It doesn't feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole.
All right.
So, but yeah, it's a very difficult feeling to describe, and something that a lot of people are probably not going to understand because healing with a controller is a very scary prospect at first, especially if you've healed a little bit in MMOs before, or even if you're a main MMO healer, because it seems like it would be impossible. Like it should not be doable, but it totally is. You'll be just fine.
All right.
You just got to get used to it. It just takes a few dungeons of practice.
Yeah.
Well, to me it actually sounds easier. Like even in concept, it sounds easier for the same reason that using the MMO mouse is easier, in that everything boils down from sort of dynamic flailing about to discrete selections, because you're not mousing around trying to find the right thing to select. You just select from a list what you want and you get it.
Yeah, you don't have to put too much thought into playing whack-a-mole because you can't frantically drag your mouse around and click the health bars. You just kind of have to see what happened and then push the one button that does the thing. And you have to be hard committed to that press, so it makes you just stick with whatever action was likely to fix the problem to begin with, instead of having to overthink about it, which I find playing with a mouse does sometimes as a healer. You when I'm healing with a mouse, I really overthink about what I need to put on people, how efficient this heal is and stuff. When I'm playing with controller, I'm like, that guy just took damage. Is my instant up? No? Alright, he's gonna get the aspect of Benefic and I can probably leave him alone. Did he take a lot of damage? Maybe I need to light speed and start spamming Helios.
Oh, too late. He's sucking on the. He's doing the fire.
No. Well, not if I push light speed. If I push light speed, my next heal's coming out instantly. He ain't dying. That'll keep anybody up unless they're just taking 100% of their health and damage every second.
And if they're determined to die.
There are quite a few times that have felt very natural with controller, where the tank puts on his Nikes and goes and sprints across the whole dungeon, and I have to pop light speed and just go ham. Means I don't have it for the boss, but it lets me pull off some clutch saves, especially in low-level dungeons when the tank roulette's just going to give you what it gives you. You don't have a whole lot of control over that.
Here comes little Jimmy, and he's just learning to tank.
Yeah. Or you get a tank who is just learning 1,000 Miles of Totorak and taking 80 years to do the dungeon and has to watch the whole cutscene for the stupid scorpion to climb into the room.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I need to go back and watch that cutscene because I have no idea what could possibly take so long. Because virtually every other final boss cutscene is like, boss appears, it roars, you fight.
Oh no, this one, it kind of comes in and then it does a lap of the room or something.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in forever, but whenever people watch it,
it
you
takes
just see
forever
people
to get to where it's supposed to be, is the point.
That's where everybody slash sits or does random emotes while they wait on everybody else.
The correct answer is /mandem.
But yes. So, yeah. That's really all I've done. My commentary on the gameplay is mostly on healing, and that'll probably continue for another week or two until my Astrologian hits 80, and I'll keep progress with my summoner for now. Just do the role quests, and then we'll go from there. The only other thing of note in my week's docket is Well, there's 2 more things I guess I can quickly go on. I did the fashion contest to get 100 points this week, but unfortunately, it requires you to get either a really expensive crafted replica of the gauntlets from the Final Coil Bahamut, or you need to have the actual ones.
Oh, yeah, that happens sometimes.
So I wanted this thing out of the way and done because I kept forgetting to do it and wanted to just do the easy ones from now on. So I soloed all of Coil Bahamut up to the second boss of Final Coil. I haven't tried third and the last turn of the Final Coil yet, because that's the boss that drops the gloves. I got there, but the journey was interesting. There are certain mechanics that will just wipe you throughout some of these bosses if you don't find a way to cheese them. The biggest one is Nail Deus Darnus, who has 2 mechanics in particular that are going to absolutely obliterate you. The first one is a phase where she summons golems, and she goes invulnerable. You have to kill these golems nigh instantly before they get close to each other, and you have about 5 seconds before they start moving. If 2 of them are not dead at the end of those 5 seconds, they will touch each other, and one will become unkillable and start doing AoE damage that you for 50,000 every time it does, and it's an insta-wipe. The other one that Nail has is, in Phase 2, these little dragons will appear outside the arena, and they will begin to pelt you with various flavors of ball. Now, they're supposed to rotate through the raid and drop an element on everybody, and then they have to go run closer to the appropriate dragon to get hit by the opposite element, so that they nullify the debuff, because you can't target these stupid things. You can't do that when you're solo. The only thing you can do is play a paladin and have hollowed ground to make sure that those attacks do 0 damage and don't give you the debuff. So you to get the first debuff and then immediately hit hollowed ground and pump every bit of DPS that you can into chewing through 40% of her health in 10 seconds. This took an hour and some change. I had to practice this fight with my paladin, but I got there, and I got the fashion contest done.
Nice.
So
Maturation.
that was a fun thing to do. The other thing this week that might be of relevance is I read the latest Monster Hunter book.
Oh yes.
This one is a setup book because it drops Owen off in Brazil at the end of the book, ready to start the next big battle. But it doesn't actually make any progress on it. But it still has to have, its big monster that is the big villain. And while the monster they introduce is really cool, the Drekavots, it's a demon hellspawn thing that has to be killed 13 times in one night, and each time it comes back, it gets stronger and stronger. And they build up the lore for it, and it's all cool and everything.
That's Bazaka.
Yeah, but the dumb thing, you have to sit there in text. In the audiobook, it's like 3 hours of a single fight scene going through all 13 lives of this stupid thing. And it starts to just really, really drag.
This is why they nerfed Heracles' God Hand for FGO.
Because it took freaking forever.
Because canonically, God Hand gives Heracles 10 lives. He has to be killed 10 times to keep him down, and he gains resistance to whichever attack was last used to kill him.
Yeah.
Which basically means that in any normal Holy Grail war, he would win because everybody could use their Noble Phantasm on him, and then he would be basically immune to all of them. Except for the apart from a few exceptional corner cases, like Enkidu being able to restrain his godhood, and Excalibur being basically a cheat code that's able to kill multiple lives in one go. I mean, but for FGO they decided, you know what, we're only going to let him have 3 stacks of guts because otherwise there will be no reason to use any other servant.
Yeah.
Cheese every.
Yeah.
You already can, more or less.
Yeah.
Now give Heracles a rifle that slowly turns into a bigger and bigger cannon as those revives happen,
What?
and you get the Dracobots. Yeah, he's
Right.
styled after what would be my daily fashion attire if you gave me a rifle from the 1700s in a stagecoach. So big trench coat, big hat, big rifle. And the Monster Hunter memoir series is now integrated into the mainline story, with Chad's daughter being a canon character that shows up.
Is her name Mary Sue?
No, she's the opposite problem Chad is. Chad is a conservative Mary Sue, and while his daughter is stupidly powerful, she's an idiot.
Well, that's something at least.
And a little prissy little girl that thinks she's entitled to everybody's help and is a backstabbing, untrustworthy little Australian word.
Right.
So nobody likes her in setting, but Owen keeps trying to give her the benefit of the doubt like an idiot. So she's very frustrating in that way. It's overall a pretty mixed book. Mostly because it has the Peace Talks problem where it's set up for the next book. So, but it also it does take place in Atlanta, though. So hearing them mention the names of places they're going for the majority of the book, and having them acknowledge that the founder of my town is a secret lich, that it's a Shackleford family tradition to just go kill every time he pops up. I don't know. I'd have to go look into it. I could go check. I don't think he's a lich. I'm pretty sure he was just a railway pioneer. But who set up a station on the East Coast. And that's how Buford came to exist.
Also a horrible joke you can make here about Salt Lake City, but let's not do it.
But yeah, seeing them kill Buford, Georgia was Buford in Georgia was quite cathartic after our last election cycle.
How heavy artillery
yeah.
did they use on him?
They dropped a harbinger on him.
Oh, you see. That would work.
And yes, he went boom all over the place.
Yeah. But you can't just leave a lich flapping around.
A few times he went boom all over the place.
So they don't know where his phylactery is then?
No, they make it a point. They end the fight scene with, if anybody finds any sort of strange, evil, magical artifact, do not touch it. Please inform us so we can come safely dispose of it.
Gotta find that phylactery.
And the first part of the book takes place at Dragon Con, with Owen and Trip on the run from the Atlanta Fuzz. And they have to steal Sesame Street outfits and wear a Cookie Monster and an Elmo head to navigate Dragon Con to hide from the cops, while simultaneously trying to hunt lizard men, which apparently infest the sewers under Atlanta, which I probably am pretty sure is true.
No, they're not in the sewers.
Well, they're getting more accepted in daylight. You can see them.
Go to California, they're all over the place there.
Just go to the Pink Pony. All those girls look like lizard people.
Anywho.
So, yep. That's my week and stuff I've done. And we can move on to the email. I posted it in Show Host.
Oh, I've got it up on the screen anyway, so I'll read it. Oh, actually, I've got a fate to do. Anyway, dear No Excuses. So it has come to this. After a mere 3 years, the second chapter of Deltarune was released on Steam.
Really
For free. Oh, hold on, I'm still mounted on my chocobo, so I'm not doing any damage. Yeah. Hats off to Toby, the game has improved in all aspects. More fun combat system, larger game world, more entertaining villain, and unlike Chapter 1, there is an alternate playthrough. And oh boy, it manages to out-bleak the genocide route of Undertale. As for Shadowbringers, I usually call the trials by nicknames like Bitch Be Crazy Yo, fa la 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 la. The real boss is the guy playing the piano, and Duty Finder is canon. For raids it tends to be, Now You Are Thinking with Portals for Eden 203, or Ryan, what did the scouter say about the melodrama levels? Eden 304. As for Alliance raids, legend has it not even Yoko Taro knows what the F is going on in there, but I call the Puppets Bunker finale, you expected Nier boss, but it was I, Drakengard boss. we have the Bioshock dungeons along the lines of, is man not entitled to his star? No, says the Warrior of Light. It belongs to Hydaelyn. Also, something met combat and trials.
Oh, I love it.
That's from Serathis. Okay, I don't have any real context for any of that crap, so I mean, I don't know what to say.
So I'm actually I recognize most of what he said, but I'm holding off on the last reference. He's talking about a solo boss fight you do that I don't want to spoil in the petting zoo equivalent. This time, the splits off in 5.1 as this side story chain that unlocks 3 trials that have their own little story to do. I did the first one and the solo boss afterwards, and I'm saving the other 2 for when either one or both of you get up to in game, so we can do them fresh. And I don't really have a reason to do them right now, so I'm just kind of put them on the back burner. But I did the first one, and she was intense.
So yeah, as for Yoko Taro, if the Nintendo Direct was any indication, he played Astrologia and has been spending the last few months running around talking about card games.
I could believe it.
Yeah.
Yoko Taro, there was apparently a bug in Puppet's Bunker that on the last boss, a red dragon would appear in the background that wasn't supposed to, but everybody thought it was a big Dragon Guard reference.
Okay.
They've removed it because it was a bug, and the dragon wasn't supposed to be there at all. But apparently he accidentally trolled the whole community with his raid.
It's a Dragon Guard reference. Oh.
So yeah.
That's actually quite an interesting bug, having a dragon suddenly appear for no reason.
They say it was a bug, but my brain is processing that as some developer was having fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's Yoko Taro and Yoshi P. I'm surprised anything actually got done in the first place.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Puppet Bunker Alliance raids. But I haven't unlocked them yet. I've started the storyline to unlock them, but again, it's in-game content that I have no motivation to do right now, so I'm waiting on y'all to face check it.
I'm a-coming.
So I'm in Vol's position now.
It's your own fault. You blew through everything.
Well, I mean, that's how I do things. When I do something, I commit to it.
Somehow have magical time.
It's good scheduling. Sleeping twice makes things way easier.
Anywho.
Well, I have consistent scheduling is more like it. At least in terms of when my work is concerned. I know the hours I'm guaranteed to be at work and the hours I'm likely to be at work and hours I may have to stay at work. You just kind of have to drive a car whenever somebody needs it.
Pretty much.
So so that's where your free time goes.
Yeah. But thanks for the email, Sarah. It does sound like a whole lot of nonsense, but it's fun nonsense.
Yep. I don't know anything.
We really have to go back and do some of the old raids.
We really do.
Once we've got all of us at a high level, we should just go back and 3-man a bunch of them.
I would love to do Alexander. That whole area just looks so freaking cool.
Yeah, I do want to do the Evil East dungeons, but I think we can just unlock those and do those in the roulette.
Okay. If anyone's ever queuing in the roulette.
Well, it's more, has anybody else finished them that's in the and is also in the roulette?
All right.
So
with that, shall we move on to a bit of news?
Sure.
What have you got for us, Maestro?
Let's see. My biggest bit of news this week has been the Nintendo thing.
I haven't had time to watch it. I probably would not have been able to see anything after the announcement, which actually got my interest.
Yeah. I mean, we've mentioned it before that Blizzard continues to roll down the hill. Haven't, like, all the bugs and things, so that's not really news at this point. But, yeah, we had the Nintendo thing, where they announced a whole bunch of stuff. They did not talk about Smash beyond saying we're not talking about Smash. So
Well, they got to get it out of the way to stop the Smash Kitties from.
Oh yeah, because they would have spurged out over everything and said, "Where's me Smash?"
Yeah, stop them from doing their Smash Player Taco Bell drive-through thing.
Yeah, that was a.
I'll never forget that's a thing, and I'll bring it up as much as possible just to emphasize how terrible that community is.
Please don't, because my faith in humanity is all-time low.
No. You can always remember, there are 2 steps below whatever you're at, and they're called furries and Smash Bros fans, or a combination of both.
Down from the trees was a mistake.
Both at the same time?
See Sonic Fox.
Oh, jeez.
Why? Why do we have to see Sonic Fox?
Please
I don't want to see Sonic Fox.
If you ever start to think Jeff Keighley might be on the up and up and making his thing good again, just remember Sonic Fox.
I think he fully regrets that, honestly.
I think everybody regrets Sonic Fox.
Yeah. So yeah, we can talk quickly about the games. The biggest announcement that caught my attention, though, was the announcement of the Monster Hunter Rise expansion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Idea to be a Monster Hunter Sunbreak.
And the key thing to note about this is it's called Monster Hunter Rise, but it's got its own proper subtitle. It's not like Ultimate or G or anything like that. It's got a proper title. So if we're lucky, that means we're going to get a proper expansion like we did for World.
Yeah, I hope so. At the very least, it's got G rank in it. But we don't know too much about the monsters that are in it, except for the headliner, which is some sort of edgy vampire dragon thing.
They're apparently calling it Vampkana.
Vamp kind of works. We'll go with that.
It looked cool.
It does look very cool.
He's all white and stuff.
So yeah, we will no doubt find out more about that in the very near future. But it is supposed to be coming out around Christmas. We got a announcement for Bayonetta 3. It was announced previously and then kind of dropped off the radar.
Well, it was announced as being in development, and we got the logo, and that was it.
That was it.
It's been in the Metroid Prime blob for a while now.
Yep.
And I imagine Koof is to blame for the delay on it.
In part.
Like many things, but I'm thankful for games that during Koof, instead of being developed throughout Koof, where you're under awkward and different work conditions, and you may be short-staffed, them just putting it on hold and waiting for things to calm down.
Yeah.
I mean, if because I just don't trust any game that has come out during Koof.
They haven't all been bad, but some of them have been bad and they hadn't needed to be bad.
Yeah, there's I've seen so many people make excuses for Koof whenever something comes out with Koof during Koof's time, from TV shows to video games. Oh, it was the Koof's fault. Like this absolves it of all problems.
Yeah, it's like the product is still the product. It doesn't matter what conditions you developed it under.
So
nobody's interested in that. They're not on the development team. They're only consuming the product.
So yeah, I'm glad they took their time with it during Koof time instead of crapping it out in 2021.
Yeah. So it looks like it's more Bayonetta. It's great. It's bombastic. You got her spells and giant punchy things going on. I really don't like her costume though.
Every costume she gets is weird. Also, there's a whole lot of references to Astral Chain in this stupid thing.
Okay.
Like
that stupid dog thing in the trailer that almost gets his head cut off. That's the mascot for the town in Astral Chain.
Right.
They must be angling for a sequel or something.
Yeah. We're hinting here. Dropping hints. So yeah. I'm always down for more Bayonetta. Bayonetta is always a lot of fun.
Yep. Hopefully there will be another Rodan for me to punch and get punched by many, many hours in a row.
one day we will have a Bayonetta cross Devil May Cry crossover game, and it will be ridiculous.
It's not impossible now that Capcom's being more sane,
Yes.
and all the Team Little Devils people really like the people on the Devil May Cry team.
Well, a lot of them worked there at one point or another.
Yeah, they all made the first Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Not so much the second one. Some of them may have been on the team, but it was a.
They don't
The
talk about the second
one.
Devil May Cry.
But they deny they worked on it.
As does everybody else involved.
Yes.
But
The MC2 was
yeah.
a mistake.
Yeah, they've redeemed themselves with the Bayonetta series, so they're they have a good working relationship with Itsuno's team, so it's not impossible. It's just a matter of if they can get the cards to line up with the executives and if they have an idea for how to do it and actually put it together.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's room in the same universe for two people that loud.
That's
Like,
an
their
interesting
personalities
point.
are too big. Their personalities are too big. There's not enough room. Like, I wouldn't invest in Ham Futures if I were you.
Oh, there's going to be a ham shortage soon.
Oh, if those two exist, there will never be a ham shortage ever again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Bayonetta supporting Dante during a Shakespeare speech on stage?
Oh, that sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's just do it.
There's some edgy boy with a sword at the end of the trailer, so we don't know what that's about.
Yes. Knock off Virgil or something. I don't know.
It looks like more like Nero, but
It does look closer to Nero.
he has a katana.
And 2 arms.
He gets a Robo one. He gets a new one.
Eh. Alright. The other games announced, we've got a full 3D platformer Kirby. It's been a while since we've seen a full proper Kirby game.
Yeah, I can't get excited for Kirby games anymore.
I have never been able to get excited for Kirby games. Like, Kirby is not the most compelling character in the world. Like, it's just, what does he do? He eats things and he beats up King Dedede. Like,
For no reason half the time.
that's
Yeah.
literally the only things that he does.
Yeah.
When I was little, I liked the N64 and the SNES one, but it's aside from being a fairly kiddie styled game, they just made them literally impossible to lose for several releases in a row now.
Yeah.
You can't even die.
That said,
Like,
I still find Kirby games to be a bit of a guilty pleasure because there's the sort of thing you can just sit down and eat a bucket of sugar. Turn your brain off, eat that sugar, and enjoy yourself. Don't think about what Kirby's actually doing because otherwise you'll be screaming. So yeah. We're getting Kirby. We got another look at Metroid Dread, which is still looking really good.
Yeah, I'm okay with them continuing the Fusion thing. Fusion was really good.
It left a massive cliffhanger at the end, so I'm glad they're following on with that.
Well, it was a cliffhanger that you could stop the series on, but
yeah, the ex-parasite has probably gotten away. But we're going to end the game here.
But yeah, it's a classic Metroid 2D style. I like 2D Metroids way better than 3D, although I don't mind 3D style Metroid games.
I like Metroid Prime as far as that, but
I like the original Prime. The others are okay, but the first one's the only one that really nailed down what they were going for.
Yeah. I think 3, by the time 3 came around, they kind of tacked on a few too many things.
Yeah, and they de-emphasized the whole point of Metroid, which is wandering around the map and trying to get 100% completion.
It was a bit linear, yeah. Hey, random dead rabbit.
So yeah.
That's still coming. We've got, yeah. Oh, good lord. Chocobo GS. Chocobo Racing.
But Mario Kart.
But Mario Kart. I mean, you can play as Steiner.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the really chibi Chocobo and Final Fantasy aesthetic. And they have...
I don't know, is the market for that very strong? Like...
I don't know.
I assume
this seems
it would be, like, people who would say, I want Mario Kart but Final Fantasy. Well, here you go.
But it's
Are
got
there
like
a lot of those people though? Like
some of yeah.
the thing with kart games is that Mario Kart exists and everybody's playing Mario Kart.
But the thing is, we've had the same Mario Kart for 8 years now.
Yeah, and people aren't sick of it.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
The
Except for the new Rainbow Road. Screw that noise.
yeah, the other thing about this is it's clearly going for a younger aesthetic,
Yeah.
but the characters it's using are like, old school Gilgamesh design and Greg design, but chibified, and like Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. Kids weren't alive when Final Fantasy IX came out
I think
these
it might
days.
just be generic Black Mage, but...
No, it's called Vivi. It is Vivi.
It is Vivi? Okay.
Yeah, it says Vivi when they get to him in the title screen.
Okay, so yeah, it is Vivi then.
Like, was anybody alive that's a kid now when Final Fantasy IX came out?
Most of the people who were didn't play Final Fantasy IX. It didn't see very strong distribution in my experience.
Yeah,
Those
and
who
it
did
came
play
out.
Final Fantasy IX will not be able to play as Vivi without crying.
Yeah. Well, maybe his car sputters out and dies halfway through the race.
Oh, that's sad. But it
Not
looks
too
like it's
soon,
just, a dumb time for those people who want that sort of thing.
You have to breed them first.
No, seems to be like different coloured chocobos, but the chocobo is in rocket skates.
Yeah.
I see.
And
Everyone
there's a
else
girl
has
with
cars,
a pin in her
including
hair.
Behemoth for some reason.
You can
I
play
didn't
as Behemoth.
Yeah. Everyone gets their own super move, and Behemoth is basically he gets Behemoth size, picks up his car, and runs with it.
I didn't see Behemoth in the trailer.
He's that purple thing. He's kind of a weird looking Behemoth, but it is Behemoth. They tried to make it cute. Or cute-ish.
It's not really something that I associate with Behemoth.
No.
Although, there's those Behemoth earrings that you can get in Final Fantasy XIV that are supposed to be like cute chibi Behemoth.
Oh, is that supposed to be Behemoth? That looks like Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be Behemoth.
Behemoth, Spyro the Dragon, what's the difference?
So, that's that. And the other notable things, they are extending their Nintendo Online thing to include Nintendo 64 games and Mega Drive games.
And it's still not worth paying for.
Took them long
like
enough
$10
too.
a year for the whole thing. You get the if you want.
But everybody already has all those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been so bad in their distribution model. Like, Nintendo's just been too slow on the uptake. Everybody already has emulators for those things.
Say that old saying, piracy is a service problem. People have been playing those games for free for years now. They're not going to suddenly want to pay for it. If they're already paying for it, then they might use it. But yeah. I don't see that getting a lot of uptake in and of itself. Unless it's just aimed at the market of people who, don't really care about that type of thing. But most of those people aren't into it enough to play games that old.
Yeah. In the case of NES and SNES games, they're a value add because you've got to get Nintendo Online if you want to play multiplayer anyway. But for the 64 and the Mega Drive games, you do need to pay more. You need to pay an expansion. No idea what that is yet. But the libraries are looking
That's
good.
Definitely not going to be worth it then.
Yeah, if it's something like $2 a year or something additional, then...
When has Nintendo ever charged $2 a year for something?
Pokemon Bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so something as comically exploitative as that, okay.
There you go. So I don't expect it to be $2 a year because remember, these games were also, I believe, some of them were ported to the Wii U for $30 each.
Yeah.
So
no.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting that the Wii U happened. To be honest,
a lot of people do. I liked the Wii U. It was just badly marketed, badly supported.
Yeah, well, you also liked the Ouya.
No, I kind of didn't.
You were trying to like the Ouya very, very hard.
To like the Ouya. I've still got it. Actually, when I did the rearrange of the room, I found it. It is on a shelf behind me now. In its box. As
a testament to bad Kickstarters.
Yes. Good ideas done poorly. Or possibly poor ideas done well. I don't know. But
No, good. The idea done well is what we call a mobile phone.
yeah, that's true. So, I don't know. Maybe for science one day I'll actually plug the thing in and see what it does.
Yeah. Also, that Nintendo 64 stuff coming to and Mega Drive stuff coming to the whatchamajigger, the Switch.
Yep.
It's delayed in everywhere that isn't Japan and America.
Not surprising. And the final bit of actual notable stuff out of... Good Lord, what is going on? There's people in a group on Steam that I'm are talking at the moment, and it's popping up in the middle of the screen, in the side of the screen, and for some reason they're talking about butt cracks, and that is distracting as all get out. What on earth is going on in there? Anywho, yeah, the final thing is we actually got the casting for the Mario movie, and is this a joke? I think this all feels like a joke. It's a meme.
We only need one Mario movie. We don't need another one.
We've got it. It's dreadful, but
We
everyone
already have the perfect Mario movie.
Just there are several choices in this casting list that make me face palm, because when you're getting somebody for something like Mario, I would want kind of somebody that isn't a big A-list actor to play that. It's the video game medium seems too divided from the rest of entertainment to really warrant needing these big names.
Yeah,
and
especially big names whose only character they can play is themselves.
Yeah, Jack Black.
They're looking at you, Jack Black.
Jack Black as Bowser is not going to play anything close to what anybody's mental image of Bowser is.
Yeah, I mean, unless they imagine Jack Black when they fight Bowser or whatever. But I can't think of anybody who would.
No.
At all.
Then you got Chris Pratt as Mario is another head scratcher.
Chris Pratt is a bit of a meme of himself. As not so much as Ryan Reynolds, but he still kind of memes himself.
Yeah, but
yeah, I can see him doing it for the giggles, but I don't. He's not probably the person I'd actually pick to do it.
And then the other really big head scratcher is Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong.
Yes.
I don't think Seth Rogen should be allowed to do anything. I think he should be in jail.
Yeah. I forget exactly what Seth Rogen did, but I remember writing him off as a tool.
All he'll need to do to remind you is open his mouth.
Face hole.
No, the only thing he can do is make terrible movies. It's like his only thing.
So he should fit right in with a couple of the other people.
Yeah, like he's part of a rogues gallery of has-beens.
Yeah. Chris Pratt's not a has-been, but I think the rest pretty much are.
But his career as an actor playing somebody who's not Chris Pratt is over.
Yeah, or Star-Lord.
What's double hilarious is they have Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, in the movie.
Yeah, he's there. Yeah,
as quote surprise cameos unquote.
Which means he's going to actually voice Mario at some point. But when people think about Mario's voice, or basically the entire of the Mario cast's voice, it's Charles Martinet who does it. Mm-hmm. He does pretty much everyone.
Can they just have him do the voiceover then? Because I can't imagine Chris Pratt as Mario.
No. I haven't even considered Chris Pratt at Mario because I'm still stuck on Jack Black Bowser.
This is just going to turn into this day and age's equivalent to the old Super Mario Brothers movie, and will be remembered in the exact same way.
I don't quite think that's true. Like, people remember the old movie. I don't think anyone's going to remember this one.
They might remember it relative to the old movie. It's like, oh, this is where they tried to do a Mario movie the second time.
Yeah.
Mario, Luigi Mario. Monkey.
So much stuff. But,
it's been a long time since I've seen it. It's a movie that I feel it's not so bad it's good. It's still bad. But it's so bad it's classic, and I'll fight anybody who tries to take it away.
It is a classic nostalgia-filled kind of bad.
For anybody that's played Mario games at all, or even played video games, that movie is part of your history in the media you've consumed.
Yeah. Because this was back when everyone was a starry-eyed, sticky-fingered little child thinking, oh, it's a Mario movie.
Oh, it's really bad.
No, it's really bad.
I remember seeing it on television. I think it was on, I don't know what channel it was on, but I didn't see it on home video. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on television not too long after it came out and was just like, what is this garbage?
Yeah. I remember it because these people, I'm Mario, and Luigi Mario. No, you're not. Who are you? Who is that?
Mario.
Is that supposed to be Bowser? Except
The
he's not. He's
Goombas,
supposed to be
the little shrunken heads.
Yeah, because this is a Goomba. No, it's not. But yeah, that movie. Of all the history of video game movies, there's been basically two big standouts that people really, I wouldn't say remember though, and that is the Mario movie and Mortal Kombat. And the Mortal Kombat one is held up by its soundtrack, which was awesome.
Well, and the choreography is good.
And the choreography is good. The writing, however, is abominable.
Well, the writing is also almost non-existent, so
Yeah.
you need not worry too much.
Like here's Shao Kahn, here's Goro, and they fight.
Mortal Kombat is just a fun time action movie. That's all it is.
It's dumb fun. The Mario movie attempted to have a plot.
Yeah, kinda.
It failed, but
I
tried.
love going back and reading the history of that movie because there's all kinds of well documented accounts of what was going on in the set and how drunk everybody was.
Well, that's because the people who like that movie are so autistic that they'll do all that research.
Yeah, so it's a good fun time to go read through the history of that movie.
Yeah. At least I suppose I'm not going to write the movie off entirely yet. It might be good for a cheap laugh.
I don't know. I feel like involving Jack Black and Seth Rogen and
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, well, I don't know, not necessarily Chris Pratt, but maybe also Chris Pratt. I think involving them in Mario is kind of an act of desecration.
Chris Pratt,
Chris
Pratt, Jack Black definitely.
Yeah, like it's just you don't need to do this. Why would you do this?
It feels like the normies are invading. Video games are our thing, and Mario is kind of the de facto representative for video games as a whole with the normies, and them taking it and using that for and putting their own actors in there. It feels ick.
That sounds unbelievably elitist, but yeah.
But that's the problem though. They're putting the elites in there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're the Hollywood elites. They're the entertainment elites. They're not like the downtrodden dorks of the world. They're all of the people who they get to dictate terms on what's entertainment and what's not. And now they're coming in and invading and trying to make what we think is entertaining into their kind of entertaining.
And whenever they do that,
it ends poorly.
It turns to poop, to paraphrase President Trump.
Yeah. We shall see. We're getting video game movies now that I wouldn't call them exactly good, but they're not terrible either. They're watchable.
And until the video games movies start being made by people that actually genuinely enjoy video games and not Hollywood types that don't know what a video game is aside from that thing their kid plays, we're not going to get a good video game movie.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you none of the Hollywood types are into video games.
As more mainstream as that, an original idea since the 70s, so
yeah, and I can guarantee you those guys in Hollywood, they are not grown up playing video games, even the upcoming generation of people.
No. Alright, so that's basically it for the Nintendo thingy. We can talk about Smash next week.
What?
Yeah, that's
we have to.
Smash is getting its own dedicated thing next week where they just kind of separate that
Uh,
crowd out.
And for Nintendo,
Can they?
this is a smart idea on Nintendo's part for themselves because it gives people time to hype about their products separate from Smash and
Yes.
keeps the Smash hype contained, but it also derails everyone that isn't Nintendo. Because that whole week is going to be the internet spurging about Smash.
Yep, it will.
Gross. Don't want to think about it.
No, don't. Do not think of it.
Bad people are bad.
Bad touch, bad touch, bad touch.
Let's talk about Monster Hunter instead. I'm actually excited about that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of speculation that the most popular theory I'm seeing around the place is that they're going to do for sort of like Western mythology or Western horror what they have done with yokai for the base game.
That would be cool.
So because there's tons of hints are dropped over the course of the whatchamacallit, the main game by the woman who does the trading about stuff going on back home, and then there's those hints dropped about how the little girl running the dango shop is actually a noble from a far off land and that sort of thing, and that basically the trader is keeping an eye on her sort of thing or looking for her or something, and they've got a big problem back home they don't know what to deal with, but they've got monsters over there as well and that sort of thing. There's a lot of hints are dropped throughout Rise about, oh well, there's this other place, and your only tie to it is the merchant woman, who's quite obviously not really a merchant and admits as such eventually. But yeah, so that's the popular theory on that, is that, oh, we're going to go to another area where there's different types of monsters which are sort of arranged around a different theme, and I'm quite keen for that. I like it. I like it.
Like seeing what they did with the yokai, I'd love to see what they do with some of the Western monsters. They've turned a stupid umbrella actually into an engaging monster.
It's all very speculative, of course, at this point, but it's based around the very, very Dracula appearance of the new flagship.
Yes.
So yeah, what I'm hoping is that they'll go full on into doing something really novel, like what I'd really like to see is like a fully indoor area that's in a castle or something.
That would be pretty sweet.
I mean, there might be wishful thinking, but I would like to see that. I think it would be cool.
Their Frankenstein's monster analog in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you can put all kinds of sort of like bizarre castle-dwelling creatures, like the sort of things that would be in a Castlevania game or something, except reimagined as Monster Hunter monsters. I think there's a lot of creative room there that you could do some really cool stuff. And I like the idea of having an indoor castle, although their obsession with wire bugs might sort of run counter to that way of doing things. It's sort of hard to see how you could do a more claustrophobic style of environment if they're obsessed with you Spider-Manning everywhere.
Yeah.
But
it'd end up just being
a
corner of the map or something.
We'll just have to wait and see how they do it. But they've talked a lot about how it's going to be a really large expansion, and I'm very hopeful that it will genuinely be a large expansion.
I'm wondering if they're going to, like, Rise very evidently was rushed out the door.
Yeah, but I'm not really sure how to judge it, because imagine like people have been very down on it because the end game is very it sort of hits a wall. But if you imagine, like, what would the reaction to Rise have been if there was no world? If world had never come out? Like, it would have been very, very different. World set the bar almost unfairly high for Monster Hunter games. Like, I don't know how you follow that act up.
Yeah. Not in any quick time period. World was in production for a long time. As well, comparatively speaking. Like, I believe it was actually being done as soon as 4 was finished. Generations was done while World was in development. If I'm understanding the timeline correctly.
Yeah. So, I think that Rise is sort of a victim of world success in certain respects, but yeah, I think that they have been based on the way new Capcom seems to do its business. I think that they've been very I think that they've been very attentive to the things that people have criticized about their games, and they have been reactive to that sort of thing in the past. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they'll be able to do something really good with this.
Yeah. Yep, so time will tell. We've got to wait till Christmas for that one, though. All right, that's the biggest bit of news. Was there really anything else?
The Direct kind of ate up everything this week, especially at the end of the week. There was a bit more of the Blizzard stuff. A full compilation of the bugs has come out, and they've continued on their spree. If you want to go on that,
Yeah, go for it for a little bit.
all right. This will probably be the last bit of news then, because we went for a while on other stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I'll just go ahead and dump this in the live show chat thread, so that you guys can take a look along with us.
Large list.
Yeah. So, several of these I mentioned before, but somebody has gone through in WoW Classic and just found all of the bugs associated with this. Some of them ones that existed before that just didn't get touched, and some of them are brand new. So, there's an issue with anything involving the pet bar, where any boss that you mind control or any pet that you have, they just don't work. Like, the buttons apparently are just either non-responsive or doing the wrong thing. So nobody can use the pet bars on stuff right now.
Ask before the pet pre-show, but how does that affect warlocks and hunters?
Oh, they just can't use their pet right. They just have to hope its auto attack thing works.
Oh joy.
Yeah, they have no extra control over their pet.
So that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
So the big thing on this is, aside from those classes having serious issues right now, the chess event in Karazhan just sometimes can't get done. If the bug happens for everybody, then they just can't control their chess piece, and they just lose.
Fantastic.
Incidentally, is the chess event skippable at this point?
No. And chess event's never been skippable.
There we go.
They never made chess events skippable. You always had to do it. No. Yeah, you always had to solo it.
Solo it.
If you wanted to get to Malkazar anyway. But, so several items in Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep just don't exist on the loot tables right now, which is the current top tier raid expansion raids of the expansion they're in. And this includes like the best in slot mage trinket.
Oh dear.
Not there. It's something like a 10% DPS increase for the mages, but nah, just not gonna drop that. They don't need that on the loot table. So Kael'thas's threat problems are even worse than we thought before. Instead of just a complete threat dump on untankable bosses, he only drops his threat from the top 4 people on the threat meter.
Oh dear.
And unlike before, where it was you just would have healers have to really pace their healing during the ad phase and try to burn through that phase as fast as possible, because the tanks, they would eventually overtake the tanks in threat that they built in phase 1. That used to be the old bug. The new bug just deletes the tanks from the threat list.
This sounds perfectly safe.
So it is even worse than it was in vanilla, or in original Burning Crusade.
Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely wrong with that.
Lady Vosh is also having threat problems during the play football sections where you got to toss the core around. It just during that time she may just decide to drop threat if you don't deal with the corrupted orb fast enough.
Enjoy.
And it's the exact same type of threat wipe. So she'll go eat the healers. The Brewfest quests on Horde side in Orgrimmar all of them in Orgrimmar were so buggy that instead of patching them to fix them, they just removed them from the game.
I feel like they've got like one person on this development team or something. He's just trying to do everything.
Yeah. So I feel bad for that guy if he's the only one working on it, trying to keep this going.
People have more important things to do, like changing the paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an ongoing thing. Fern's looked into more of that. I haven't seen much of that this week.
I've seen other little nuggets where they're changing not just paintings, but they're changing basically anything which is a double entendre.
Oh yeah, Bros Before Ho Ho Ho's has been changed to something, and quest names like that are being changed. Let's see. Daily PvP NPCs are just missing on some servers. Not on all servers, just on some of them. They just didn't come back. The shaman trainer in Ironforge has just taken a hike and isn't there anymore.
He got bored and left.
Yeah, the guild banks have permission bugs where people that should be able to withdraw stuff can't. So all the people that had stocked flasks and told people to get them out for the raids can't use that right now. They have to have somebody who's an administrator manually distribute them. Several quest NPCs are just gone. Named mobs for quests. They're just not spawning.
Didn't even test this at all.
Yeah, and that previously these mobs were apparently just fine. It's only after this latest patch. You can trade your Season 1 arena items back to the vendor after the patch for full value and just buy the Season 2 stuff without having to regrind points. Several named NPCs that are supposed to give a good chunk of reputation with all the reputations that came out in this patch just don't give it that for some reason.
Oh dear.
Apparently Prophet Velen has also just disappeared.
He too has gotten sick of this nonsense.
Yeah, so he's pieced out. Prince Malchazar and Karazhan is now casting Enfeeble on the tank, so the tank gets one shot.
That's just Iron Man mode.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard mode. It's fine.
And you will get your chat channels royally screwed up if you log out on a flight path right now.
Channels of all things they've broken?
Yeah, only when you're on a, not flying mount, but a flight path. If you're on a flight path somewhere and you log out or get disconnected, all of your chat channels will be totally messed up.
Does that even happen?
Like, general chat will be /3 all of a sudden, and trade will be /4. It, like, bumps them all down 2 on the list.
How?
What were they meddling with?
Yeah, who knows? Succubus and other enemy corpses will just stand still when they die. They don't have a death animation playing right now. The Succubus are the most notable because the Warlocks have them out all the time now. And I think we're currently in the Sacrifice spec, or is that Wrath of the Lich King?
No, that might have been early Wrath.
But either way, Succubus is just dying all the time. And they're just staying upright when they're dead. So people are seeing not dead, just normal, idle pose frozen succubuses everywhere in the raids. And there are apparently more mobs with this problem. All the German server names got localized instead of remaining German for the German players.
Just what?
Yeah, we're not entirely sure how that one happened. So there was clearly some lack of communication, or the one dude doing all this was really, really tired.
That
and
sounds
just
more
thought he
likely.
saw something in the wrong language and fixed it.
It's like Blizzard put this together to prove to people that they did not want Classic WoW, and now that they hate it's a success, they hate that it's success. It's
Yeah, hey, they clearly resent Classic being successful. It's an
Well, I
indictment
mean,
of everything they've done.
it makes them look ridiculous, and
Yeah.
it validates people that they hate, like Mark Kern.
Yes.
Yeah, they hate that Classic was as successful as it was, because everything about it just shows them how bad a job they've done since, well, just
Yeah,
going downhill since whenever, like post Wrath, basically.
Yeah, they've been a bad steward of the IP. It's as simple as that, and they can't face that fact. And in a certain way, I can't blame them for feeling that way, because they've worked really hard at doing everything wrong, and in a lot of cases, it's not even their fault because they've got this ridiculous pressure put on them from above to do, shareholder pleasing things. But ultimately, they should not be in the position where they're trying to sabotage their own IP because they feel butthurt that they worked on a project that wasn't successful.
Yep. And even now, WoW Classic took the biggest player hit it's ever. Even all the other debacles going through Blizzard, it was the cash shop thing being introduced that hit it the hardest. People just didn't want that crap.
Yeah,
One of the big reasons.
that's one of those. That's the reason why I'm even defending them as much as I am, because you know that didn't come from the dev team. You know that decision wasn't made by the dev team.
Yeah, nobody wanted that.
Someone in corporate made that decision.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where selling your soul to the shareholders, unfortunately, quite often means their decisions are completely at odds with what the players want.
Yeah, shareholders are not your player, and they do not know what makes for a successful game. They're only there for the money.
But
I mean, and that's their job, and you do need them. However,
yeah, you do need someone around with an eye on the bottom line. But you also need someone who knows, what players want, what the game should be. Someone having a vision.
There's a difference between a few investors and shareholders and the corporate shuggoth that is Activision Blizzard now and their shareholders. Making sure you're profitable to appease a small group of investors is one thing. Making sure you're profitable by X% and doing everything they think will help your game squeeze out a few more pennies is different. Yeah. There's something to be said for shareholders holding you to account to make sure you're making a profit and therefore listening to what the people want and giving them something they want to buy. But there is not a whole lot of good that can be said for the type of shareholder that is in like ActiBliz.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really the shareholders' fault either. The shareholders are only doing what shareholders always do. It's the approach that Blizzard Corporate is taking to pleasing those shareholders. It is their job to sell to the shareholders the idea that a successful IP is worth more than money this quarter. If they're not doing that, that's just laziness and short-sightedness on their part. Because the shareholders are always going to want money. The problem is you've got to convince them that there is more money coming down the line if they, are patient for another 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, you want a bigger return on investment, then keep your money with us because we're gonna make this much more money.
Yeah, if you don't like what we're doing, that's fine. You can withdraw and off you go.
Yeah, there'll be somebody who's willing to put the money in. If you can build a chain of successes, there will always be somebody who's willing to put the money in.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's the bug list. You can go dig through it in the live show chat if you want. I don't particularly want to read through the whole thing because some of them are rehashes of old bugs.
We'll be here all day.
Yeah, and it would take forever to go over every single one.
Yeah.
But they've continued to rename quests like the aforementioned Bros Before Ho Ho Ho's. More fruit is popping up every time they find another picture of one of the pretty ladies. So, not even sexy ladies sometimes. What
are warlocks going to summon from now on?
They can still summon the succubus for now, but jokes are that they summon a pair.
just some sort of.
But
fruit on legs.
All fruits are sexualized, aren't they?
Yes.
anything with curves can be sexualized.
Well, yeah,
Anybody can make a joke.
yeah. The question is like, how many items will they run through before they can find one that is suitably non-lewd to please their new bizarre moral standard?
Yeah, they're just going to keep going. Eventually, it'll just be a barrel with feet or something.
Yeah, and they've been having a real problem with the classic players because the classic players are much less accepting. They have their shills and they aren't small in number for this kind of thing, but they're much less accepting of the Blizzard just coming in and ransacking the game than the ones on retail are.
Because the people in
And
retail are dead inside.
yeah, and they just don't want crap changed. And like just the pictures of like the lady in the low cut top is getting replaced by fruit or just removed.
Just removed.
But ironically, they forgot to take the NPC it's based off out of South Shore.
Okay.
So you can still find the lady in her low cut top, just not pictures of her.
So she's not yet a watermelon.
They'll just replace her with a bowl of fruit.
Yeah,
She'll
just
just
a
be
bowl of fruit sitting on the ground. There you go. There's your quest giver.
Well, she walks, so it'll be a bowl of fruit with legs.
Yeah.
She has a patrol path. But yeah, it's been very interesting to watch what is normally the a Reddit in general is you can expect to be fairly cucked on most things.
Yep.
The WoW Classic Reddit especially was full of shills early on, but they have just completely turned on Blizzard from the moment those microtransactions came out, and it's only been downhill from there.
Yeah.
Well, because that was the one thing that they were hoping to avoid. The contamination of the game by money, which is what most people see as whether it's true or not, most people see Activision as the ones to blame. And I think in a lot of cases it's probably not true that Activision are directly responsible, but because that's the way people see things, the one thing that they are very sensitive to is the point at which the concerns about making money overtake game design. And this was basically a completely undefeatable indicator that, well, money is back in charge. And so they basically, when that appears, they've lost their game. The game has been taken away from them. They put all this money in and the game was just taken away.
Yeah, and it'd been bleeding people and getting more and more detractors building up to that, but that was the breaking point. Before that, it was the bots. The bots are the reason that everybody was mad.
Oh yeah, we will continue to keep an eye on this because, at this point, it's just becoming hilarious. Because
yeah, so
Blizzard is in full-blown panic mode.
Yeah, here's a pretty good meme that emphasizes it.
Oh.
Using said lady, I dropped it in live show chat, emphasizing with the lady from the pictures that's getting censored.
Yeah. Is it almost they almost got the meme right? It should be a lemon
Yeah,
or a banana or something. Yeah. Anywho, let us pack up then, because we're at time.
Yep.
Or
All right, folks. Email topic of the week is anything we talked about. Or you can write to us about Final Fantasy since we're all playing.
Please do.
Yep, just keep in mind spoilers for Fern and Vol and where they're at in the story.
Send us your memes.
So yeah. Closing comments go, I guess.
I'm glad I'm actually starting to really get in and enjoy Final Fantasy again.
Yeah, when you get to Shadowbringers, it gets really good. You just got a little more Alamigo and Doma slog to do, and then then it really gets rolling.
The story it's a bit of a roller coaster, I suppose. Like Realm Reborn kind of starts slow, winds up. Heavenswood is just solid all the way through. Stormblood's kind of up and down. It's got its moments. It's also got its very boring moments. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll be. I I need to do my roulettes, and Fern needs some help with dungeons, I think.
I'm actually tempted to just grab you two and we just go and farm high rank Rathalos. Let's get us some mounts.
Maybe. We'll see what happens. Alright, you got anything, Bob, before I sign us out?
If you get eaten by an undead Gobu, it doesn't matter what your level is. You're still dead.
Okay. What are you up to?
See.
I'm trying to farm stats for my my relic weapon from A Realm Reborn. And so I'm trying to solo Lost City of Amdapur. And while it's easy enough for me to kill the Gobu boss, if I forget to equip my regular weapon and still have Bravura equipped, my DPS isn't high enough to kill him before he eats me. And if he eats me, then the boss just stands there with me in his belly until the game decides that I'm dead and he spits me out. And the fight's over.
See. Alright, folks. We'll see you next week, and we will start working on plans for Rantathon this year, and have a date for you sometime next month.
Stay tuned.
And outline in the works. So, see you next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.